అడిగాను. ఆ? ప్రొజెక్టర్ బ్రైట్ కార్తీక్ చెప్పు. సినిమా వాళ్ళని ఒక 5 minutes వస్తాను. చెప్పు నేను ఎవరైనా అడగబెట్టుకుంటారు. అలాగే ఇప్పుడు అందరికి ఎలా వెళ్తుంది డిపార్ట్మెంట్ కలిగి వేరేది యూట్యూబ్ సార్. సారీ ఫర్ ఇన్కన్వీనియన్స్. ప్లీజ్ జాయిన్ us in live.
సార్ మాట్లాడు మీరే సార్.
అసలు బయట ఎవరు మైండ్ లేదు సార్, మనం అడ్మిట్ చేయలేదు కదా.
ఇప్పుడు మాట్లాడండి. ఒకసారి వస్తున్నారు అట్లా పని ఏదో ఒకటి మాట్లాడండి కంటిన్యూషన్ జస్ట్ ప్రాక్టీస్. జూమ్ లో యూట్యూబ్ లో చెక్ చేసుకోవాలి, జూమ్ లో చెక్ చేసుకోవాలి. జూమ్ కూడా బయట
This is state opportunity.
బ్రో ఒకసారి ఇప్పుడు చెక్ చేయరా?
This is state opportunity.
బ్రో ఒకసారి ఇప్పుడు చెక్ చేయరా?
This is state opportunity.
బ్రో ఒకసారి ఇప్పుడు చెక్ చేయరా? ఒకసారి ట్రై చేయరా?
Everything clear, right?
Euro వస్తుంది బాబా అంటే లేట్ డిలే చాలా ఉంది డిలే
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Nageswara garu.
How are you, sir?
Fine. Today,
Yeah, just 5 minutes, sir. I will inform you, sir. Still people are joining.
okay.
Uh,
మనం పీపీటీ ఓపెన్ చేసి పెట్టారు. పీపీటీ ఓపెన్ చేయలేదు. మన డెస్క్టాప్ ఓపెన్ చేసి పెట్టారు.
అక్కడ స్క్రీన్ తీయబోయి sir, had lunch, sir? Lunch.
Some quick lunch has suggested by yeah, not gone home, got something from a canteen.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Screen open. ఇది క్లిక్ చేసి క్లిక్ చేయాలి. లేదా एक
Inform your batchmates. You sit, sir. Sir. You carry on. You carry on. That's a great talk. I'm very proud of it.
స్క్రీన్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళదు గూగుల్ కెమెరా. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, is it audible?
Nageswara garu, very much audible, sir. Your voice is very much audible.
Sir, is it audible?
Yeah, your voice is very much audible, sir.
Okay. Sir, good afternoon, sir. Welcome, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, Nageswara garu. Yes,
Good
go
afternoon, sir. Actually, there is a small technical problem. Voice is repeating. If I speak once again, it's coming. I think meanwhile it will sort out.
Now it is very clear. No problem.
Okay, sir. Now today I welcome you, sir. First of all, let me welcome you. This morning onwards, you are in a lot of sessions. I know very well. I know without having lunch, you joined at in time. We are very much happy to be with you. Also welcome our other guest, Ravi Garu. So sir also joined. Yes, sir. Today our IICC president, our Dean R&D, Srinivas Rao Garu with us, sir. Is the HOD EEE department, Dean R&D, Dean School of Electronics and Communication. Our IICC president is Dr. G. Srinivas Rao Garu with us. So with this, once again, I welcome both Professor Purush. For that, it is our formality. Our Dean R&D and President of our IICC will give some his opinion on this event and his suggestions towards conduction of this event. So I welcome now Dr. G. Srinivas Rao Garu to give few words about this session.
Good morning, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. This is Dr. G. Srinivas Rao, heading the Department of EEE and serving as a Dean Research and Development of this prestigious university. On behalf of the university, I welcome Professor Purushottam Garu, former CMD, National Business Development Corporation, and presently DP IIT IPR Chairperson, Andhra University, and Sri Ravi Ishwarapu Garu, business consultant and studies investor in Andhra University Incubation Hub, Andhra University, Vizag. So I welcome you all for this meeting, sir. As an university, recently we got our university has been sanctioned with a technology business incubator from DST. So TBI, a worth of 5 crore rupees from DST. So under this technology business incubator, we want to encourage as many startups as possible. Already 4 startups have been graduated and 8 startups we have already sponsored. And under this, and we in Vijnana University have already started one Vijnan's Technology Business Incubator, VTBI. Under this VTBI, 4 patents have been already granted, 2 US patents and 2 national patents. As on today, 87 patents have been filed by the faculty members of our university. Out of that, 27 were already granted, 2 national patents, and rest of them are international patents. And we are able to hear my voice, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very clear.
So our management is also very much interested to to encourage this entrepreneurship and IPR activities to be organized in Vijnan's University. So in this regard, I am requesting Dr. Purushottam Garu and Sri Ravi Ishwarap Garu to visit our university maybe in the month of July based on your free availability. Visit our university and advise us on several aspects like the improvement of entrepreneurship and IPR things in Vijnan's University. This is my sincere request to both of you, sir. I know that you are a stalwart in our area, and finally, I felt very happy because you accepted our invitation and agreed to spend some of your valuable time with all the members to give a series of lectures on role of IP in the innovation and entrepreneurship driven new Indian economy by Professor Purushottam Garu. Entrepreneurship as a career choice by Ravi Ishwar. We need really your guidance, your help, particularly in improving innovation and entrepreneurship activities in Vijnan's University. We want to work with you, sir. That is we already informed about your credentials to higher authority. We are also very much interested to see you in the month of July. So please accept our invitation and visit our university one more time. We will arrange all the logistics for you. This is my sincere request on behalf of the Vijnan's University. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And at last, I would like to say one thing. Nageshwar Rao Garu also as the director of this IESL, he is putting a lot of efforts, particularly in improving this innovation, the culture of innovation among the student and faculty community. I really appreciate the efforts which has been made already to bring the university to the next level as far as the innovation is concerned. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, sir. Thank
you so much, sir. Thanks for your valuable words. As a president of this IISc, because of your support and encouragement, we are all together taking forward. Now, my team ESL will read out the guest profile. Just I hand over to our team members.
Draft and
Hello.
అసలు ఇక్కడ తగ్గిద్దాం. ఓకే. ల్యాప్టాప్ మాట్లాడుకోవచ్చు కదా. ఎవరు లేరు గార్డెన్స్.
Nice.
Yeah, you young guys should have a solution to fix it quickly. We are losing time.
Yes.
They're all very creative and problem-solving ability. We all have. Do it quickly.
Yeah, perfect, sir. Now it is perfect.
Okay, great. So shall we start?
Sorry for the delay, sir. Sorry for the delay, sir.
No problem. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Charita. It is very honor to me to talk about the Professor P. Purushottam. And he completed his B.Tech in Andhra University, Visakhapatnam in the year 1982. And he completed his M.Tech in IIT Kharagpur in the year 1984. He completed his PG Diploma in Foreign Trade Management in Institute of Export Management, Kolkata in the year 1995. He completed his MBA in New Delhi in the year 1998. And he successfully completed the 31st study course in venture funding in the Venture Capital Institute of Washington, D.C. in USA. And he completed his PhD at Usmania University in Hyderabad in the year 2014. And total teaching and R&D consultancy, project management and administrative experience, 37 years. And they are Andhra University, Visakhapatnam, introduced and teaching intellectual property rights, IPR course in the curriculum of UG and PG, PhD level courses for the first time in the university, undertaking research and IPRs, nurturing the creativity, innovation, IP entrepreneurship, incubation, and startups, supporting the university in securing central government funding in the above areas, strengthening the academic in industry partnerships, facilitating the awareness about the IPR amongst the academia. And the International Advanced Research Center for Powder Metallurgy and New Materials, DSTGOI, Hyderabad. Founding, head and built the state-of-the-art Center for Knowledge Management, provided leadership to the team in promotion of technology startups by providing technologies and IPs, feasibility reports, market research, assessment reports, consultancy, and network the startups with FIS banks, etc. Prepared several databases, organized many national and international workshop seminars, and delivered about 20 invited lectures, transferred about 24 IPs technologies of the Institute of Industry and Startups, deputed as Canada to attend a training program on the design and management technology business incubators conducted by NBI USA.
Make it brief.
Programming management.
Please make it brief. Make it brief, madam. Yeah.
Is the member of Indian Institute of Chemical Engineering, member of National Business Incubation Association USA, member of Administration Staff College of in India. And he awarded as a Meritorious Young Consultant Award in the year 1991, instituted by Consultancy Development Center of Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, DSIR, Government of India. And awarded as BSc Escorts 2016, awarded for promoting R&D technology and innovation in the country. Processing broad experience of about 37 years across IPR value chain of IP, creation, protection, commercialization, and enforcement in diverse fields of technology. Did certificate courses of SWAYAM and NPTEL. On roadmap to patent management and intellectual property in universities and patent law for engineering and scientists, and emerged as a topper of the later two courses. Worked very closely with intellectual properties office. Traveled extensively in India and about 20 countries as part of Indian delegation and invited speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We quickly finished it. We know it takes another 30 minutes to complete your profile. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Not required. Just introduction of the name and the current portfolio, that is sufficient. Anyway, at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers of this event, particularly Professor Nageswara Rao Garu and the president of IIC, Professor Srinivas Rao Garu, and the management of Vigyan University, Dr. Rattaya Garu, Krishnadevaraya Garu, and Honorable Vice Chancellor, for inviting me and my colleague Ravi to share some of our experiences, expertise in this area, because Vigyan is one of the leading university, which is one of the oldest university. I think probably all of us together can contribute for the overall development of the state in promoting innovation, entrepreneurship, startups, and intellectual property rights. That is how we have come forward with our passion to join hands with in our state. So that is the motto behind us, to spare some of our busy time for creating a synergy between Vigyan and Andhra University in the area of this innovation, entrepreneurship, startups, and intellectual property rights. What happened? Share. Are you able to see my PPT? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Perfectly.
Yeah,
Keep it
that's
in
right.
slide mode, sir. Slide presentation mode.
Okay. Yeah. That is slides.
Yeah. Yeah, it is now perfect, sir.
Okay. So the topic I have chosen for talking with all of you is that role of intellectual property in the innovation and entrepreneurial driven new Indian economy. We all know that the Honorable Prime Minister of India has got a great vision, to take India to a $5 trillion US dollar economy in the next 3 to 4 years. If you want to achieve that kind of a economy and want it to be one of the major economies in the world, that is possible only if we adopt innovation in all our activities, programs, plans, and and all our schemes and all our policies. Whatever little we are doing at individual level, organization level, and national level, if we all do our duties innovatively, ultimately that will lead to that kind of an economy. We wanted to become number 3 in the economy across the globe, and that too along with an innovation, entrepreneurial driven economy. That is what we want. That is what we call the knowledge economy. So if you want to achieve that, we need to promote innovation and entrepreneurship in all our activities. Then only it is possible. In fact, this talk is a kind of an aspirational talk. As of now, integrating innovation into our policies, programs is not that great. It's not that significant as of now. Just nevertheless, but the momentum has started. So in this process, let us try to understand the current scenario and where we all stand in this scenario and how to move forward, so that we will emerge as one of the global leaders in the innovation and entrepreneurship, and at the same time contribute for the socio-economic development and achieve the $5 trillion economy in the next 3 to 4 years. So it is important for all of us to understand what do we mean by intellectual property. So if just in a simple terms, I would like to say intellectual property means it is the creation of the mind. Whatever the human mind using the intellectual labor, whatever we create, such as inventions, literary and artistic works, designs, symbols, names, and images which are used in the commerce are called intellectual property rights. That is why in all our education policies, we always give a lot of emphasis, to empower the mind, to create such kind of capacities, capabilities in the mind. That is why we always inspire people saying that think differently, imagine, that will take you to the reality, or you will be able to achieve that whatever you imagine, that imagination is more important. So that is why in all our education processes, in all our culture, since the human evolution across the globe, the education purpose of education is to strengthen the faculties of mind. So once the mind is strong, once the mind is creative, once the mind is, able to think out of the box, you'll be able to develop new solutions to the problem. They will lead to the socio-economic development of any nation. So that is why creations of the mind are the intellectual property rights. If you get rights on the creations of the mind, that is what we call intellectual property rights. Creation of IP is one aspect. Getting rights on that IP, is another aspect. So that is why it is very, very important in the knowledge economy to understand, how to create new knowledge, how to protect that new knowledge, and how to commercialize this new knowledge. This entire value chain, we need to understand if you want to achieve that kind of aspirational goals, such as, becoming one of the largest economic force in this world. So it is very, very important for all of us to how the intellectual property is related or connected to the invention, the innovation, startups, entrepreneurial system. That's what Ravi and myself are going to discuss today. So it is also important for all of us to understand what are the different types of intellectual property rights. So as of now, there are about 8 or 9 types of intellectual property rights recognized across the globe, and also in India as per the different conventions, like the Paris Convention Treaty, or the World Trade Organization. There are so many international treaties have come out, and as a part of the treaties, the intellectual property rights are also discussed very much in all these treaties. So the UN body, the World Intellectual Property Organization, guides all these countries in the area of intellectual property rights. So what are the different types of intellectual property rights? There are different types, as I told you about 8 types of major intellectual property rights. The first and foremost is the patent. Patent is given for the inventions. So everything about patent has been articulated in the Indian Patent Act 1970. Everyone, who wants to understand, who wants to contribute, who wants to implement the patents, they should read this Patent Act 1970, which was enacted by the Act of Parliament. The Parliament has approved this. Anything, if you want any bill to become an act, it has to be approved by the Parliament, and the President of India has to approve that. Then only it becomes an act. So all these intellectual property acts have come out. They've all been approved by the Government of India. So each act talks about from end-to-end solution. Patent means what is patent, what is how to get the patent rights. If somebody copies, what kind of remedial measures are available, what are the rights of the patent holder, everything about patent across the value chain, all described and discussed in the Patent Act 1970. Similarly, Trademark or Brands Act, Trademark Act 1999, describes all related matters end to end in the Trademark or the Brands Act. We call it as a Trademark Act 1999. Similarly, Copyright Act, which is one of the oldest intellectual property right act, the copyright. Whatever we create, whatever we write, the artistic music, the films, the papers what we publish, the textbooks what we publish, they're all covered under the Copyright Act 1957. Similarly, the Design Act. So whatever physical artifices or the shapes what we see in all our businesses, they're all protected under the designs. For example, the shape of a mobile phone, the shape of a computer screen, all these things, all the ornaments, the jewelries, they're all protected under the Design Act. Similarly, Plant Variety, particularly for the protection of plant varieties and Farmers' Rights Act, which has been promulgated in 2001. All things about the plant varieties have been covered under that. Similarly, another important IP is the geographical indication. Depending upon the regions, because of the agroclimatic conditions, some unique properties have been achieved or created, by in that local region. For that, there is a IP called geographical indications are been given, like the Darjeeling tea, which is one of the first geographical indicator granted, So Darjeeling tea has got a special flavor, special characteristics compared to the tea produced in other regions. So like our Banganapalli mangoes are also part of a geographical indicators. The Kanchivaram sarees, there are so many, more than 400 articles have been already recognized as a part of geographical indicators. Then trade secrets, of course, there is no specific act for the trade secret, but it is protected under the Indian Contract Act. One of the biggest example for a trade secret is that the Coca-Cola composition. Nobody knows what is the composition of a Coca-Cola. This has been protected under the Trade Secret Act. Similarly, integrated circuits, all semiconductor integrated layouts, designs, they're all protected under the Integrated Circuit Act. So these are broadly the 8 types of intellectual property rights which are which are being promulgated by various acts of Government of India. So depending upon the product or the service, or you can get intellectual property rights protection under different acts. The product can have a patent, the product can have a trademark registration, the product can have a copyright, the product can also have a design. Some of the examples, like if you see even the Colgate toothpaste, which is the paste composition is protected by patent. The way the Colgate is written, that is called a trademark. The language, what they write on the tube and all, protected under copyright. The shape of the tube, is designed, the design, is protected under Design Act. So more IPs are embedded in the product, it is more robust and you get more security for that. So that is why it is always desirable to get more than one IP protection for your product or a service. So if you look at the scenario, global scenario, if you look at 1975, the company's value, used to be 83% based on the tangible assets. Tangible assets means like the building, equipment, cash, inventory, land, all these things are called tangible assets. Any company in 1975, if you value, most of the companies, they used to have 83% of the company value in the tangible assets. But if you look at today, 90% of the company value lies in the intangible assets. What are those intangible assets? All these patents, trademarks, copyrights, designs, softwares, all these things are called intangible assets. So currently, that is why we call this era is a knowledge economy, where the knowledge is the power, the knowledge is intellectual property. So the company's value lies in the intangible assets, like all these patents, copyrights, trademarks, all these things. So it is very, very important for all the students and faculty to impart such kind of a knowledge, such kind of a skills in our students, so that they will be at par with the requirements of the globe. Entire globe, entire industry is looking for people who have got, along with their domain knowledge, the knowledge and intellectual property rights also is very, very important, because the company, whatever we are talking about company, the company ultimately, what is the use of an employee, or what is the motto of an employee? His duty is to enhance the value of the company. How you can enhance the value? By contributing intellectually, creating intellectual property rights. That is why today all these companies have more than 90, even 95% of the company value lies in the intangible assets. The other day I was reading the report of Microsoft. The company value in that company, 95% of the value lies in the intangible assets. So it's not only Microsoft, all the knowledge-based companies today, all the top global companies, they're all based on the ICT based. Earlier, the value, the most famous rich companies used to be oil companies, telecom companies, the mineral companies. But today, they've all gone down, and only the information technology, communication technology based companies are on the top. So wherein all these intellectual property rights plays very, very important role. So if you look at the statements, the corporate doyens, like chairman of Quaker, what he said, to motivate, to enthuse his staff, what he said in one of the annual meeting is that if this business were split up, I would give you the land and bricks and mortar. I would take the brands, the trademarks and intellectual property rights, and I would fare better than you. So that is the power of intellectual property right. And also, if you look at another major MNC, Coca-Cola, what their company CEO said, If you look at it, if building, factory, office, car, truck owned would burn down in a moment, but the company could get back to operational rebuilding and buying everything lost in 1 year due to the value and profit generated by its intellectual property, namely the income generated by its trademarks, franchises, contracts, patents, licenses, etc. So that is the power of IP. So all the students and faculty members, the entire youth should imbibe to understand the power of intellectual property right and try to adapt in their thought process, in their day-to-day work, so that you will be able to create more IP in your businesses, more IP in your activities, so that adds value to the yourself and also to the nation, to the company where you are working. And if you look at the global IP activity, bulk of the IPs, are the trademarks. There are about 15.2 million trademarks have been registered across the globe. Similarly, patents 3.2 million. Utility models is another class of a patents. Utility models. India, we don't have the utility models, but in US, China, and other countries, they have the utility models. Industrial designs 1.4 millions. So there are about, these are the top types of intellectual property rights globally we talk about. See, we need to also understand the IP cycle, life cycle, what we call it, So where it starts, where it ends, the womb to tomb, is what we call. So it starts from the creation. How do you create IP? By carrying out a research, by identifying the problem and developing a solution. That is what we create IP. If that is novel, it has to fulfill the criteria of novelty, inventive step, and industrial application. It has to fulfill if you want to get IP protection. So once you have created, and if it is fulfilling that criteria, then we go for a protection. Protection means there is an intellectual property office is there. In India, we have 4 offices across the country: Calcutta, Chennai, Madras, and Delhi. So depending upon the jurisdiction where we are falling, we need to submit our application to that office. So the patent, there will be examiners. There is a process, prescribed process. They examine our application with reference to the prescribed process and evaluate with reference to these 3 criteria: novelty, inventive step, and industrial application. If it is fulfilling that, and if there is no opposition for it, then you will get a patent granted. If there is some opposition, for example, you need to clarify. You need to prove that whatever opposition charges they made, they are all false. If somebody says that patent should not be granted because it's already been granted to someone else, or this knowledge is already in the public use, public domain, so then you need to challenge that and prove that whatever allegations have been made or whatever opposition charges have been made, they're all wrong. Then only the patent controller will grant the patent on your invention. So once that is done, then the next step is the exploitation. Exploitation means putting that knowledge, putting that patented knowledge into use. That's what we call exploitation. So creation, protection, exploitation, these are other 3 steps. Ultimately, the success of any technology transfer or any technology commercialization depends upon the strength of each of these phases of the IP. If the technology, what you created, it is not innovative, not state of the art, and it doesn't have a protection, and it is very difficult to exploit it commercially, and each one is a course by itself. So if you look at, Indian scenario, compared to some of the Asian countries, we have our patents for 100 billion GDP, that is the patent density we can call in terms of our GDP. Only we have 174 patents for 100 billion GDP, whereas Japan 5,200, China 5,800. A small country like South Korea has got 8,600 patents for $100 billion. So what is that we are lacking in spite of such a huge country, such a talented people? Why our patent density is so low? So the reasons are many. Probably some of the challenges we could see in my subsequent talk. But what is missing is that we are not aware, the process of filing patents and the resources required for getting a patents. I think the culture itself is missing in our country. We need to cultivate that kind of a culture. If you want to see, cultivation of culture is one thing, and once you identify this is a patentable matter, patentable subject, or your invention is patentable, it requires resources. The governments also should provide such kind of resources or give waivers for such kind of a, filing costs, attorney costs. They're all quite expensive. So there is a big policy challenge before all of us. How do we enhance our patent density in our country? This is a problem, a challenge before all of us. We need to think and see how we can increase our patent filings in our country. Okay. Then, so for example, what is the pathway? Once you have an idea and you have developed a technology or a solution to the given problem. So what are all the various steps involved? One is, of course, as we discussed, we need to patent it, then we need to commercialize it. But there are some important point in this process we need to realize is that, so once your idea, or a finding or a research is a new and it meets the criteria of invention. So what we do is that we disclose that invention to a patent cell or a patent agent who has got the expertise to evaluate, the research outcome or the solution what you have developed, in terms of meeting the criteria of patentability, what we discussed about the novelty, inventive step, and industrial use. The definitions are very clear. They've also given what do you mean by novelty. Novelty means it should be first of its kind in the entire world. That's what we call absolute novelty. Unless your invention is novel in terms of global novelty or absolute novelty, we will not get a patent. But if there is even a hairline difference is there compared to the existing knowledge, your invention has got that kind of a knowledge difference or a novelty, you will get patent. But if it is same thing, you will not get a patent. So as a patent agent, as an IP expert, we will be able to bring out that element of novelty and argue on that point, and we can get the patent granted. But here, once that is done, once we evaluate that it's meeting that criteria, immediately what we should do is we should file a patent. Then the patent prosecution takes place. Then after filing a patent only, we should market that invention. See, if you see the relative position of these two dots in the graph, after patent filing only, it is shown here, market the invention, not before or at the same time. Why? Because the moment if you market or inform the society or inform the public saying that you have invented before filing a patent, what happens? Public comes to know about it, before filing your patent. When you file a patent, the patent examiner will see as on that date, whether that similar knowledge or the same knowledge is in the public domain or not. That is what he will see to assess the novelty content, the novelty of the patent. If you already publish in a newspaper or a conference or an exhibition or a research paper, that will come into the public domain. So when you file a patent thereafter, the patent examiner, he will see whether similar kind of knowledge is available in the society or in the public domain. Your own paper sometimes may become a counterproductive. He will cite the same knowledge, maybe belong to you, but it's already in the public domain. So it lost the novelty component. So you will not get patent. You will refuse the patent granting. So that is why it is all the research scholars, faculty members, students should remember, first file a patent application. It could be even a provisional application is sufficient to protect your priority date for the novelty, So file even a provisional application or ready complete application, then only you market it. That is a very, very important point. I wanted to only drive that point through this slide. You should not, market your invention. You should not speak in public. You should not give it to the press about your invention before filing a patent application. If you do that, the novelty is lost. You will not get a patent. But once you file a patent, immediately, see, filing a patent application is not that difficult at all. If you file today application, tomorrow you will get your number, patent application number. So file your patent application, then you do all whatever you want. That is a very, very important point. All of us you take from today's lesson or today's class. So if you also look at what is the scenario in Indian Patent Office, see all the patent applications filed in the Indian Patent Office are classified into 4 categories. One is the natural person, individuals, he doesn't belong to any institution, individual, or even if you belong to an institution also, if you file your application as an individual capacity, that is what we call natural person. The other category is startup category. The other is small entity, SMEs basically. The 4th category is others. All corporates and everybody comes under this others category. And if you look at the patent filing numbers, among these 4 groups, natural persons files only around 7. Last year, if you see, last year, Indian Patent Office, 1920, 56,267 patents were filed. Of course, majority of them are foreign filing, around 64%, I think 65, 64% are foreign filings, only 35 to 36%, I think, Indian filings. That is also another alarming factor. Why many foreign companies or MNCs are filing their patent applications in India? Because India has got a huge market. After China, the next big market is India because of our population. So if they get a patent in India, means what do you mean by getting a patent? You get exclusive rights on that particular technology or that particular solution. Without your permission, once patent is granted to you, say on that technology, no one can manufacture and sell that product in Indian market. So that is why they are all filing patents in Indian Patent Office. So if you look at in this again, sorry, 17.73% of the natural persons startups are this. And also, if you look at others, others are the major. Others means till recently, till last year, September, universities are also coming under the others category. Now, on September 21st of last year, to promote, to encourage, patent filing by universities, they brought that universities under the category of natural persons, So, Government of India also gives some concessions for the natural persons, startups and small entities. The fees of filing, protection, maintenance, the fees is reduced by 80% last year. That is the biggest advantage, and the university should make use of this provision, and they reduced the 80% cost. Earlier, it used to cost around 6 to 7 lakhs, for patent filing and its maintenance, including the attorney fees or the patent agent fee. Now that fees has been brought down to almost 76 or 77,000 only. Once patent is granted, even to maintain up to 20 years, it would cost around 76, 77,000, leaving apart the attorney fees, which may be about a lakh rupees, So, and also if you look at, in the others, these are all foreign applications. 33,968 applications, almost 64% of the total filings are from the foreign application. This is also another alarming factor for all of us as Indian citizens. So one is our filings are less, and even within the filings, what are happening, majority of them are from foreign countries. So this is definitely, being a patriotic citizen of India, it really concerns all of us, Then if you see some of the statistics as per the Indian Patent Office, according to WIPO, as I told you, the World Intellectual Property Organization, which in which almost more than 190 countries are members, they all file some of these international patent applications through WIPO, which is the gateway for filing PCTs, And as per their statistics, India, as of now, has 92,897 patents in force. Force means they're all being paid, regularly paying the maintenance cost, the renewal fee, these are our assets. 92,000 patents or 93,000 patents are active patents. They're all inventions. It's a gold mine for entrepreneurs. The entrepreneur need not reinvent the wheel, they can, if they wanted to start a venture to solve a problem, they can always look back to these 92,000, 93,000 patents. If any one of the solution matches your business proposition, you should try to acquire rights on that, that is through technology licensing, technology transfer. So most of the patents which are developed are filed, protected by the government agencies like CSIR, DRDO, ICAR, ICMR solving the problems. They've already acquired the patents, So you can get those patents licensed to you, and the entrepreneur can start a venture based on that new technology. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, start from the scratch, And also to promote entrepreneurship in our country, recently DRDO has come out with a wonderful policy, They released around some 500 patents of DRDO. They said you don't have to pay any license fee. You take these patents, you start your venture. But once you are successful, you pay the royalty. Such a beautiful policy change DRDO has brought. I think many institutions are going to follow the same suit. So that way, entrepreneurship will be triggered in our country. Such kind of policies are very much essential. Then, according to Google, only 14% of the patents granted in India the last 8 years were commercialized. Of course, this is much higher compared to US and other countries. What, according to Forbes report 2020, US has got around 3.34 million active US patents, means around 33 lakh patents, active patents, whereas India, only about 1 lakh patents we have, active patents. In that, hardly 5% have been reached to market. Around 95%, 90% of the patents failed to be commercialized or even failed. So this is another major challenge, not only for us, even for the entire country, the patent commercialization. So whatever patents we have, hardly around 5 to 10% only have been commercialized, of spending a lot of resources, to invent the technology, invent that solutions, and protecting those solutions costing huge money. Out of that, what the benefit we got? Only 10% hardly we are able to commercialize. The remaining 90% of these patents are lying in the shelves of the research laboratories and universities. This is also another major policy challenge for all of us. Then how do you commercialize once you have got a patent? These are the 3 routes available. If you got a patent on your name, you commercialize yourself. You don't have to go for any licensing. You don't have to take any permission from anyone. So you commercialize your IP. That's what most of the startups do. They invent this, build a venture on their own IP. So that is what one route, one channel. So 20 years you get exclusive right to use your own knowledge. The other channel is that if you don't want to exploit yourself that knowledge, the patent, you can also license it to various entrepreneurs, startup companies, existing companies, big companies in India and abroad. That process we call as a licensing. There are different channels of license: exclusive license and non-exclusive license. Exclusive license means you are giving this license to only to one party. Non-exclusive license means more than one party. Of course, each one has got its own advantages and disadvantages. The third route is that called assignment. Assignment means you are selling your rights outrightly to the other party. So absolute ownership of your IP, you are selling out. So you will not be having any right on that IP once assignment deed is signed. It is like outright sale, like you're selling your house or a car or your jewelry, like that. You can also sell your IP assignment. So in that, absolute ownership is being transferred. These are the 3 channels of commercializing IP or monetizing IP, So you can make money out of your commercialization of your IP. So what are the major challenges? See, what we have seen is that there is a huge potential, to create value for your IP. But what are the typical challenges many of us are facing who are dealing this subject of IP commercialization? So some of the, based on my experience, I've listed here, what are some of the challenges? The primary challenge is that whatever we claim as technologies, developed by all these institutions and universities, they are not really technologies per se. They are all a proof of concept technologies. That is why they are under the low TRL. TRL means technology readiness level. If you want to call a technology, any invention or any solution, if you want to call as a technology for a transfer, a technology for a commercialization, it should have a TRL 6 and above, minimum 6. So what is TRL 1? What is TRL 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? We will also see. So TRL for the timing. So whatever challenge we are saying is that most of the technologies available in these laboratories are a TRL, a low TRLs. That means less than TRL 6. So if you want to achieve successful technology transfer and commercialization, the technology should be at TRL 6 and above. We will see later how to raise the TRL levels. The other challenge is that lack of funding for scale up or establishing demonstration plants or pilot plants or developing prototypes. That is one of the major challenge. Most of you who are in the field like Ravi and all, they might be knowing the kind of challenges they have, in development of prototypes based on the proof of concepts, the huge gap. So limited market validation and field testing is another big challenge. If you want to be successful in technology transfer and commercialization, it should have been field tested before launching the technology. The lack of market research studies, commercial potential assessment is not there. So what is the demand? What is the supply? Who are all the competitors? For many of our inventions or inventive products, we don't have that kind of a market knowledge because we are all academicians and researchers. it requires a business element, So limited access to risk capital is another major challenge. So to overcome all these things, what we are talking about, what is needed is risk capital. Risk capital is nothing but, equity. So what we have, maybe some components, the debt. Debt means you have to return that money. If you failed in the business, you sell your properties and you sell your gold, sell whatever you have and pay back that loan. That is what debt. But what is required, to take inventions to the marketplace is that we need risk capital. That means equity. Like in the Silicon Valley, there are many venture capitalists sitting there looking for new ideas, which can transform the world. So if they find such kind of a potential business ideas, they can invest, they can take risk, and later they exit with a higher multiples, 5, 15x, 20x, 30x. That's what the current valuations are giving the benefit to the investors who invest early. Ravi also being an investor, he knows the importance of investing early and finding a right time for exit so that you will make a lot of money. So that is a major challenge, limited access to risk capital. If you want to conduct a research, you need, say, for example, $1. If you want to convert that research into a prototype, you need $10. And from prototype to commercialization, if you want to go, it needs $100. So that is the intensity, that is the degree of funding required. If you want to bring an idea, it requires 100 times more money than what you spend on research, So that is the kind of money required, and definitely we lack in that. So inadequate IP awareness, lack of IP protection, as we have seen. The IP protection is also as an indication of a entrepreneurial society. We filed only last year, we filed around 56,000 patents. In that, again, 65% are foreign applications, only 35% are Indian applications. So the lack of awareness as well as protection is also very low in our country. And this is also one of the reasons why, because we have a limited technology transfer commercialization professionals. You see in foreign countries, particularly in US and all, they offer, BTech, MTech programs in technology transfer and commercialization. We don't have that. That kind of awareness is still, we are very much behind. Lack of legislative support is also not there. So in all advanced economies, they have a Technology Transfer Act, the Bayh-Dole Act, and Technology Commercialization Act. We have a Patent Act, but the Patent Act doesn't talk about technology commercialization, but whereas in advanced economies, generation of IP, protection of IP is one aspect. The commercialization, monetization is also another aspect. Unless there is a push in the demand side, the supply side will not move forward. So they have created both demand side as well as supply side, kind of a push by bringing legislative acts like the Technology Transfer Act, Technology Commercialization Act. Once there is an act, it make all of us, to follow certain directions, certain policies. Government also puts required resources to implement that policy. So all those things are helping there to promote technology commercialization there. And apart from that, complex regulatory compliances. If you, for example, if you got a drug or a pharmaceutical product, if you want to bring it to market, a lot of regulatory approvals, the clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, which again involves a lot of costly or rather expenses to carry out all these clinical trials. In any drug molecule bringing to the market, 2/3 of the cost, involved in getting all these clinical trials done. So as a result, the entire technology transferring cost is also high in our country. And of course, not only in our country, everywhere, but being a developing country, the challenges are more in our country. So inadequate incentives for inventors as well as innovators, we are all aware of that. Higher technology transfer costs are higher, no national guidelines for IP valuation. So today you have developed some technology, at what price you can sell it. There are no national guidelines on that. Right now, what is happening is that what the buyer can pay, and that is the demanding. Is a kind of a buyer's market, not a seller's market, but there should be some kind of a optimum, point for both of them to get benefit out of this entire transaction. Then patents are not technologies. Most of them are proof of concepts. That's what we have seen. That is why TRL levels are low and low patent commercialization rate. If you look at, globally, the patents what we have and what we have commercialized are not that encouraging. Only around, of course, some kind of exceptions are there. Some institutions claim they achieved much higher technology transfer or commercialization rate. But if you see globally, it is about some 5 to 7% only. Whatever patents we have, that much only have been transferred. So coming to the patent means what is the TRL level of a patent? Generally, it will be TRL 3 and below that. Why? Because once the proof of concept is established, that is the time we file a patent application. So that is why patent is only having it. Patent is not a technology, but it is a backbone. Hello? Yeah. So patent is a level at which there remains TRL 3. Now, if you want to really make it as a technology, the patent becoming a technology, when it happens, if it's mature, if the patent is matured to a level of TRL 6 or above. So the gap between TRL 3 to TRL 6, what we call as a valley of death in the technology management literature. So most of the technologies, they die in this valley of death. So what is that valley of death and how do we overcome this valley of death? Let us see here. So this is what we have plotted here. TRL 1 means the basic principle you understood, and you proposed a concept, that is technology readiness level 2, proof of concept. Basically, we prove in the laboratory scale, we prove that yes, the idea or the concept worked. Here we file a patent, then we call it, I have a technology for transfer, but that is not really a technology. Of course, it is a proof of concept. If you want to make this technology, if this proof of concept to be a technology, what needs to be done is that it should be validated in the lab, and technology validated in the relevant environment, and technology should be demonstrated, to the public or the consumers, the users, and you should get a feedback and see whether the demonstrable prototype has been accepted by the end users or not. So that is what we call, once that is done, your prototype development is done, validated in the field, then only we call it is a TRL 6, and that is the time at which you can go for commercialization of the technology. So this gap between TRL 3 to TRL 6, what we call valley of death. If you want to overcome the valley of death, you have to be in the incubation center. That incubation center can provide all this ecosystem support for validating your proof of concept and develop a prototype and validate the prototype in the field, actual field conditions. That is what the support, incubation center provides. What kind of support incubation center provides? Incubation center is nothing but a common infrastructure. You don't have to worry about, the remaining aspects. You focus on the product development, That is what incubation center provides. It provides mentoring support. It provides financial support to build your prototype and validate your prototype, So scaling up of these things, all these things will be provided in the incubation center. So across the globe, people have realized, the companies or the policy makers have realized the incubation center can help to overcome the valley of death. Every technology, every successful technology has to pass through this curve, So technologies which are able to overcome these difficulties, challenges, they will become successful technologies. So incubation is a new concept. Of course, for the last 10 years or so, has become very prominent and popular. In India also, Government of India has established more than 500 incubation centers supported by government, So they also provide the ignition grant, the seed funding to these incubation centers, where the new ideas, startup ideas, transformative ideas, are funded as a grant, as a equity, and even sometimes loans. All the three possible combinations, the incubation centers are being providing, that kind of a support to the entrepreneurs to mature their ideas, and they become a successful technologies. So there are some of the examples we are all aware, the US universities have produced Oxford Instruments, Google, Netscape, Genentech, Polaroid, Lycos, Sun Microsystem, Silicon Graphics, Sharon, Amazon, Cisco Systems, Facebook. All these things took birth in the university environment and the university incubation centers. Now they all become multinationals. You also, I think we should also take pride, India has become a 100 unicorns, startup companies. Unicorn means a company, a startup valued, $1 billion and above. So recently, India has achieved this, landmark of registering 100 unicorns in our country. So we are number 3 in the world, in terms of startup ecosystems, and even in terms of, I think, startup companies also, and unicorns also. And if you see, a lot of growth has taken place in 2021. 44 startup companies have emerged as out of the 100 unicorns, 44, they emerged in 2021. So unicorn means, as I told you, a company valued $1 billion and above. Now India has got 100 unicorns. These are the year-wise distributions. 16, we have only 13, 17, 1, 2018, 10, 2019, 7, 2020, 11, 2021 was the golden period for Indian unicorns. So as of now, up to May, I think around 14 unicorns are there. So we are expecting, I think, around 250 unicorns by 2025. That is what the projection. So India's first unicorn, InMobi, that was the first Indian, unicorn was InMobi, was announced in 2011, which is a mobile advertisement platform. Most of us are aware. With 44 unicorns last year, all previous predictions about unicorns in India were out of the window, and the 100th unicorn has come well before expectation. And the 250th unicorn also, it may happen even well before 2025, because the rest of the world, the investors are eyeing the Indian potential. The best period for Indian startups, to draw plans and growth plans in such a manner that they will be able to attract investments. Not only is neo banking startup open, this is the 100th unicorn, the neo banking startup, which is in the fin sector. This is also 20th unicorn. India's 100 unicorns have cumulative valuation of 333 billions. So each unicorn, if you want to call it a unicorn, about $1 billion. So 100 into 3, if you say average, if you say, I think each startup is valued more than $3 billion US. So that is how the 333 billion is the valuation. And of course, if you see, there is no direct relation between, though it's supposed to be the valuation and the revenue, all these 100 unicorns contributed only 34 billion revenue so far, but all of them are not really profitable. They are in the growth phase. Probably over a period of time, they will be able to generate more revenue. With Flipkart and Byju's being the 2 highly valued privately held startups or unicorns in our country, Flipkart and Byju's, the educational edutech company. So this is the sector split by number of highly diverse startups. Majority of them are in the healthcare, financials, IT, and e-commerce, edutech, SaaS, software as a service. That is also one sector contributing substantially to the startup sectors. The fintech and healthcare and e-commerce and edutech and SAS, these are all the 4 major sectors, where the startups have been coming up. So why IP is important for startups? I think Ravi is going to talk entrepreneurship as a career, and if you want to be successful, how incubation centers are going to help them. But how IP is helping them, I think it's also important for you to realize, because IP is what? IP means you are getting a right on that knowledge, exclusive right. Once you got that kind of IP right, you are the absolute owner of that right or for that knowledge. So once you have that ownership with you, it allows to use yourself, or if somebody wanted to use that knowledge, they have to take permission from you. That permission is nothing but a technology transfer or technology licensing agreement, or you can give also free of cost. It all depends upon your choice. So this gives you, if you have got IP based either technology or a product, IP based product or a service, it gives you a competitive advantage. How you get competitive advantage? Because it prevents others to enter into that market, because you are having an exclusive right on that knowledge as granted by the government. So that is a major advantage for you to become competitive in the market, because it doesn't allow others to enter into the same product production and marketing it. and it improves your valuation. If you have got an IP, because obviously it improves your valuation. Why? Because investors will come forward to make investment at a better price, because for them also it offers a protection. If there is IP protection, their investments are also to that extent protected. As a result, the startup can make profit. When they grow and make profits, he can also sell his equity at a higher price. So that is the logic and relationship between the IP valuation and profitability. So it also attracts investors because they secure, their investments are secured. And also, if you have got an IP, the biggest advantage is that if somebody files a case against you tomorrow, once you are successful saying that you have copied my technology, that is always possible. So this IP rights, are granted to your technology or service. Tomorrow you can show to them saying that, no, I have not copied your technology. Government of India has granted IP rights on my invention. I am practicing that. So you are saved from that kind of an infringements. It can act as a defensive as well as offensive. Whether somebody suits you, you can show it. Or you can also file a suit against someone else who has copied your technology. So that is the biggest advantage for you. And if you want to export, particularly to the developed economies, particularly the pharmaceutical products, IP is a must. And there are many benefits, and the overall company valuation also. We have seen that 90% of your assets, are really based on the intangible assets. So this also contributes to your company valuation. And also we have seen how important role the IP played in the COVID vaccine. Countries or companies who have got the technology, they minted money, during the pandemic by producing and selling the vaccine. So if you look at recently, there was some study carried out in the US, what is the impact of IP in that economy, what it made? They found out from this US PTO has carried out the study, IP intensive industries supported 45 million high paid jobs. Almost 30% of the US jobs have been created by the IP intensive industries. They contributed to 6 trillions of economy. That is 38% of the GDP in USA is coming from the IP based industries. IP means the patent, trademark, copyright, where they got protection, by the government. Then without trademark, brand registration, even Amazon doesn't sell any of your products. See the importance of the IP. If you don't have a trademark or copyright or any type of protection for your product or service, if you want to sell through Amazon, they will not accept. So very, very important tool for us to have this kind of a protection. Startups, MSMEs can also earn 32% more in revenue compared to the counterparts who are not having IP. So that is a kind of a premium you can sell your products if it is IP based. IPs are truly intellectual currency, helping to promote economic growth, company competitiveness, and innovation worldwide. So these are some of the examples. What I would like to give, I think another 2 minutes I would like to take. See all these top companies in the world. What are all the top 5 companies in the world as on today? Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook. These are all the top companies in the world today. How we say that they are the top companies? Based on their market capitalization. And if you look at how they got such kind of a huge market capitalization, because of their IP. If you look at the kind of patents they are holding, active patents, Apple, 19,500 patents, Amazon, 8,000, Microsoft, 40,000, Google, 20,000, Facebook is a new company, 4,000, 5,000 patents they are all holding. So directly or indirectly, how IP is contributing for the growth of all these companies, this is an example. So finally, probably, I would like to conclude here, correlation between IPs and GDPs. Countries, this is an indirect correlation. Countries like China, USA, if you see their IP portfolio, China, for example, they file every year 15 lakh patents. USA file around 6.5. Now, this is a little bit old data, about 7 lakh patents USA file. They see, of course, USA patents are gold standards, they're highly valued patents. So see their economy size, 21, 22 trillions, USA, now 16 trillions, China. Japan, you see, they file around 3 lakh patents. Germany filed around 60,000. India filed, this is I think 2018, 1920, we filed around 66,000 patents. And there is a relation between the patents and their economy. Ours is around 3 trillion as of now. And if you look at the patent portfolio and economies, there is a correlation between them. Countries, I would like to say that countries who have got large number of IP portfolio, their economies are also large because they are able to bring in new products, new services. They are able to earn premium, and that is how it is contributing to their national economy. So what I would like to conclude is that IPR is a bridge between academia and industry. So whatever we are teaching, learning, the outcomes, the research, is all nothing but knowledge creation, which is represented by Goddess Saraswati. And if you put that knowledge into practice through entrepreneurship, through innovation, through startups, you'll be able to create wealth. And obviously that wealth will be plowed back, part of it in terms of royalties, which goes to the R&D institutions, universities. They in turn spend that money for bringing in new inventions, new innovations to the marketplace. So as long as there is an equilibrium between these two forces, the goddess Lakshmi and Saraswati, that society will emerge as an evolved society or a developed society and a rich, prosperous society. So it's always important for us, for the governments, for the institutions, particularly for the academic institutions, we need to balance these two forces and keep them in a good equilibrium, so that always there will be a continuous flow, bidirectional flow between these two forces. As a result, as an outcome of that, we develop an evolved society, and the society becomes, a prosperous society. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I think I have taken exactly 1 hour because there is some delay in setting up the things. I don't think I've taken or eaten the time of Ravi. Thank you so much, Nageswara Garu, for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, it's really our privilege and honor to had such an eminent lecture. You are enlightened us towards this intellectual property and the TRL levels. Of course, the people who might have used this session, really a wonderful session. They will see the benefits after some time of your session. I know. I believe it. The content which I have totally gone through your delivery, and it was really nowhere it is possible. The participants are so lucky. The rest of the people who left, that is up to them. We cannot do anything with such people. I'm so thankful to you, sir, for having this wonderful session. Now, my team member will introduce about the next guest, that Ravi Iswarapu, who is the CEO of Andhra University Incubation Center, who had a lot of experience in this startups, entrepreneurship, and many more things. Sir, any more you would like to add, sir?
Any questions? If anyone has got any questions, I would like to take 1 or 2 questions. If no questions, let Ravi take over the floor and
I hope still Ravi sir also can solve some of the queries if they.
yeah.
Yes. We are a team here.
We complement each other. Yeah, no problem.
That's right. Yeah, with that belief only, I just trying to accelerate it.
But generally, what I noticed is our kids are not that forthright in asking questions. Is out of respect, or they don't want to ask, or they don't want to.
That's what I told, sir. Though you told about TRL and all these levels, economy, growth, contribution. So it is a bit beyond subject for undergraduates, I know.
Yeah.
If the participants are mostly faculty, research scholars, okay, they could do something. I think next session purely for these young graduates. I hope they may take it from.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I will stop sharing. Yeah. Ravi.
Now I invite Ravi sir, and before that, my team member will read out the profile of Ravi sir. Sir.
Make it simple, crisp.
Sure, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
మనం రవి సార్ని
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Charita, and it is very honor to talk to Ravi Ishwarapu. And he is the director of Schemax Tech and IT product development and service startup, and director of Interview Buddy HR Tech startup. And Ravi has a 23 experience in heading business strategy, sales, operation, and corporate quality across the globe for large corporate and startups. And Ravi's entrepreneurial journey started in 2012, and he had a successful exit selling his stake in his first entrepreneurial outing, Penna Tech. Ravi is currently angel invested and also helping strategy and sales at the three good stage startups that are all the cash positive as of today. Ravi is a serial entrepreneur as identified by INC42 as one of the top angel investors in Andhra Pradesh, India. Ravi is now the CEO of Andhra University Incubation Hub and helps in mentoring and growth of startups, turnaround of ailing companies, investing in early stage startups, startup business strategy, awareness sessions and entrepreneurship, startup pitching and strategy sections across India. Thank you.
Thank you. It was short and sweet. Good. Yes. Yes, sir. Can I go ahead?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Perfectly.
Okay. Just a moment. Can I? Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. What's this? Okay. Still an early evening, so anyhow, very good evening. Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session. So I'll have to have the challenge of trying to maintain that momentum going forward. So I know most of the students would have the choice of what to do next. And some of them would be seriously considering entrepreneurship as a career choice, which we now call startup. Should I start up or should I not? Is a big question that some people would have. Is this something like an option that I should take up immediately after college? Or should I work for a few years and then come and maybe get into startup stuff? Should I take the risk? Do I have the qualities or characteristics that are required to become an entrepreneur? So a lot of these questions do come up. Yeah, it's not an easy task. It's there's no straightforward answer, a good answer. Do this and you will be able to get this. So at least I'll try to put the perspective of what a startup is, or the life of an entrepreneur is. So quickly, if I say, it was pretty easy for me when I was working with Tech Mahindra as the global head of quality. That was my last corporate role. Before I became an entrepreneur, I got into entrepreneurship late in life. When I was nearing late 30s, I got into entrepreneurship. Because when I started my journey, maybe after my engineering, at which most of the students on this call are, we did not have all these support systems that we currently have. We have, after the Startup India program started of another 5, 6, 7 years now, we have tons of support systems that are around, like incubation centers. Then you have people whom you can reach out to, which could be right from what do you say, accelerators, incubators, then people who give you can become a part of the cohorts, investors, mentor networks. It's so organized, such a huge thing on its own, because everybody wants to be a part of that dynamic system, wants to eat a piece of the cake because it's growing so fast. It's like Professor Purushottam Garu was talking about how quickly when the Startup India program started, I think about 2 years back, the target was to reach about 100 unicorns in India. By the way, the word unicorn is where the valuation is $1 billion or more. $1 billion would mean about conversion rate, if I take around 76, 78 rupees now, 7,800 crores plus of valuation. That is, if I want to buy that company, that's the money that I have to spend to buy that company. So, so that's you're talking about. Okay, that a billion is 78,000 crores. I'm not saying 77,800. That's less. So, so that's the what do you call it? The impact that we have on the startup space. People, a lot of people who had previously had a lot of craze investing into companies on the stock market, while they continue to do so. There's a lot of focus on the Indian startup ecosystem, and it's something, a lot of great and exciting things are happening. So, of course, reasons are obvious. One is the large size of the Indian market, very easy, but a tough market, because in India, everybody wants things. The big challenge is you want a good quality product at a price which is pretty low. Unfortunately, these two things don't go together. You want a good quality, you have to pay for it. But the big market that India is of middle class income group, which are very price sensitive market. So if you're able to bring out something that is that you can provide with an acceptable level of quality and within a price point that is agreeable to a big set of demographic, which is people, you should probably be able to make it big. Okay, so with that, I'll just get into. So first is just let me see. Yeah. So we would, okay, let me minimize this because it's on my screen and it is. Okay, to the bottom. Yeah. So what's an entrepreneurship, or what we are talking of, an enterprise or a business? It's basically what we're talking of here is something that we have to, that we undertake, just create either a business or an enterprise officially, which is basically you have to register it. It is a registered entity that has a chance of profit or success. What you read about probability really applies to this context. What is the probability of success? There's nothing called, if the probability is too high, 0.9 towards 1, everybody would have been entrepreneurs. Nobody would have want to work for somebody else. So there's a high level of risk. So the chance event is pretty, the probability of the chance of being successful is low, and how you can make it high is what is all this game of business is about. So you're taking up something. So getting into what to use the mouse. Okay. So it's a process where you create or build something. Of course, you have to create something where people see value in it. Until unless you create something where if people do not really see something that is value, means one is it should be of some use. There's a usage value, and there's also affordability value. So it's a price at which that is thing. So it is taking care of some need of yours. Yeah, you might ask me, okay, what about a brand like Rolex or a premium brand of a perfume or a clothing? You said price sensitive, why is it? So there is, it's not that everybody is that. Then there is the HNIs, high network individuals, who have other needs. Basically, what is a middleman's need to what is a HNI person's need change. So their needs and wants. So some people take care of the wants of people where they would want to, probably it's a social status thing, wants to show that they're well off, and would want to wear things that reflect their brand. Some people do it not often, but at specific things, like during a wedding, you often would go off the mark and try to buy designer wear, which probably is once in a lifetime thing. So you would probably is a need at that point of time. So you're creating or building something of value that is that people feel the need to own it. Then you basically, how do you do it? You identify an opportunity that is there in the market. You put everything together, resources. Of course, you need a lot of M out here. One is the manpower. You would need material if it's something that's physical. And then you would need, of course, if it's a service, then it's the mental power, that is knowledge. And then you would need a lot of money. Nothing starts off for free. So you put all these resources together in developing, and of course you put a business plan together as to for the different things that you would want to do. How would you start? What is the product that you would want to start off? What is your all that you're offering about? How would you start it? How would you operationalize it? How would you fund it? How would you market it? So all these things is what you get into a business plan, and you are ready to accept some level of risk. So that's again a very important critical component of doing a business. So you're saying it involves a certain amount of risk and uncertainty of being successful. It's just like somebody just pre-COVID started something which has got impacted, which is got into a sector like tourism, hospitality. And then suddenly COVID hit, and where would you be? So there are certain things that happen, seen, unforeseen things. So that's why there is uncertainty and risk in this, everything that you do. So being prepared for such stuff is what it all means about surviving in this world of business. So that's what entrepreneurship is all about. So, okay, now I'll click on this slide. Yeah. So the big question is, should I try it or not? Is it something that, okay, I've got into campus, now campus recruitment, I've got an offer. I've got offer, maybe something around 3.5 to 6 or 5, 7, 8, 9 lakh. Offer 10 lakh, maybe 20 lakh offer. Should I take it? Or I have a passion to start something on my own, want to be my drive my own business day one. So should I try it? It's a big thing that people would always have that in the back of the mind. So yes, why you should try it? A few reasons. One is you're a person who is ready to take some calculated risk. So you're not risk shy. So yes, then you are pretty independent in your decision making, or that character of being a strong individual person and have a strong desire to control your own fate or your destiny as to where you want to be. Because that has to be, and every entrepreneur that you would see has this very huge burning, what do you call it, desire to succeed in their belly. So that is something that's a very common feature. And you have a very strong to achieve something big. And please understand, when I'm talking about businesses, I'm talking about, because on the previous slide, when I said it could be something that leads to profit or success. There are a lot of social projects. Not all enterprises are done for only profit. There are a lot of enterprises that are there, which are called social enterprises or social startups, which are social entrepreneurs who do it, and success is different numbers. So many number of green coverage that I've done, so much of reduction in carbon footprint. There are a lot of startups which do that. It is basically, this could be largely not-for-profit companies, but their success depends on different factors. It's just not money, making money. So please be aware of that. When I talk of business or even a startup, there could be the regular profit-making startups, and then also social startups, which again, social entrepreneurs are also there who are for profit and not for profit. So you might call yourself a social entrepreneur by picking up rural, tribal handlooms, handicrafts, organic stuff, pick it up, and then for the uplift, and then you might be able to put more money into the hands of the rural or tribal woman or any folk who have lived there and what they produce. That could be a social angle to it, but eventually you might be doing it for profit too. So there is these mix of businesses that are there. So why you should not get into entrepreneurship? if you have a large fear of risk, you're somebody who's not risk taking, and who is too much bothered about being a failure. So these two things are very critical if you think, because otherwise you'll put yourself into trouble. The like what Dr. Purushottam was talking about, the chances of success is about 5%. But please understand, everybody talks that the chance of a startup succeeding is about 5%, very low chance, the probability is low. And that is again, but this data is again now broken up. The chance of failure in year 1, year 2, year 3, then chance of failure of an entrepreneur who is doing his first entrepreneur, first startup, second startup, third startup. So usually people make it, and people who have this continuous desire in their stomach to somehow make it happen, they find the right mix, probably if not the first, then the second or the third time. So but that's what these are people who don't fear failure, who see the setbacks, they somehow want to make it happen. They continue, they fall down, they again stand back up and then fight back. So you're not, this is not for you if you have a very weak heart, can't take risk and you can't take failure. So, and there's people who give into peer pressure. There's a lot of people I know, people who have, if you're in a startup ecosystem and you're a student, you might be a great student and you've got an offer on campus and you can see all your classmates taking up the offers, going off, then or for an MS in the US or joining these big multinationals, the brand names that come along, TCS, Infosys, Accenture, Deloitte and all that stuff. So if you give into that pressure, then again, this is not for you. So then, of course, there is family pressure. Thankfully, nowadays people do understand and realize that startup is not a bad word. It is something that is acceptable, and probably some parents who are probably from an entrepreneurial background, while they caution you of the risk, they understand that is the right age where you can try it out. If you fail, you can go back to the industry if you want to. So that's something that there's also that you can, but there could be a lot of families who would say, why job, why do you want to go and do this business thing? This is not for us, or first time entrepreneurs, the family law people, parents who have been in jobs and had a very stable life. ఎందుకు మనకి తన అవసరమా, ఏమైనా అవుతే తేడా వస్తే ఏం చేస్తావు, ఇది that stuff. Thankfully, the teda is also happening in jobs. Recession probably is down the, they say it's started off in some places. Maybe in a year you would find a lot of people losing jobs. Then that uncertainty, when it is there on the job front, then maybe people will start accepting it more. So yeah, somebody's crisis is your opportunity. Sometimes it so happens, that's life. So, and other thing is, you just can't see the opportunity cost, because this is very common in the startup life, of a student startup's life. I'll give you examples too later. You start off, let's say you start off on a startup and then you want to go and then do this, but eventually it so happens that your year 1, year 2, year 3, you're putting in money, you're not making money, whereas you find that your peers are making money, weekends they're enjoying stuff because they have disposable income, while you are at the end of the month running here and there to find some money to be able to pay your employees, or a little bit, 2 people, 3 people, or to buy inventory, whatnot. So you would be working pretty hard, but would not be seeing money at all, or wouldn't have a salary because you would not get profitable year 1, year 2, maybe if you're lucky year 3, year 4 and all that stuff. So until that point of time, it is something that money is flowing out, or if you're talking of cash inflows and outflows as of this thing, you're not cash positive, so you don't have money on hand. So you're trying to somehow jugad and do somehow and manage things. So that's a situation that you'll have to. So, but what you'll have to see is, once my startup takes off, once I get this market size that I dreamt of, or I have let's say not dreamt of, estimated and really have targeted for, and I could achieve that, then your valuation of course goes up. And then you should be able to see that future cost 5 years, 10 years from now, and then not look at the immediate money that you're losing. So if you're doing that sort of a calculation, if you're that sort of a person who is in the short term and not here for the long run, then again, startups are not for you. Okay. Now, continuing about the characteristics of an entrepreneur, of course, the diagram on the right side in white with the blue this thing has some of those characteristics, but we will talk about those things. So basically, who are you? You are basically an entrepreneur, and as an entrepreneur, is an individual who is ready to take the risk associated with the creation of an entity, organizing that is execution, which is running the entity, owning it up, and then taking it and growing it to a sizable this thing. So you are a person who is ready to take the risk right from the creation to the formation to getting things, collating things together, executing and day in and day out, and then bringing and building it to a sizable entity. So at every point there is risk, and you're a person who is ready to face those risks. And I'll tell you, based on experience, I would say 99, I don't think I can say this too about 100, most or all the startups, what they start up with and what they eventually land up will be not the same. Most of the time, we call it pivoting. You start up with some idea, because one idea will not sustain for a long time. So you can go back, you can study what Facebook started off with, what Google started off with, because these are names that you would know. Or Flipkart started off with books, Amazon started off with books. So Facebook started, why did they have to go and buy WhatsApp, Google, what it started off, then why you got into maps and whatnot, a lot of stuff. So, that's, you start out with something and then you keep growing, you get new ideas, or something doesn't work, then what we call it as you change your model slightly, so that risk is always there of what you're doing, somebody catching up, competition hot at your heels. So either you'll have to pivot, or somebody with deep pockets, lot of funding, suddenly gets into your space and disrupts you. So you'll have to continue to keep changing, and then so the risk is always there. So what sort of mindset you should have? You should have a very high sense of achievement, that is never given, and then continue to do this thing. And the only thing that is, I will do it and I will make it happen. There's no second thought of, okay, in case it fails. So you don't even give it a thought. It might fail, but eventually, even if it fails, you say, okay, it happens, man. Let me get back up and then try and take up another stuff and then again achieve it. So that sense of continuous this thing that I have to achieve and somehow make it happen is there. You're highly individualistic. So that's already we talked of. You have a complete control on your senses and on people and things around you. And you're very focused. It's not like suddenly somebody gets a great offer maybe, or something happens somewhere else. Or sometimes, yes, you lose a big order, what you thought will take off in a big way did not work. So you don't lose your focus, you still realign yourself and continue to hit it more harder. So that's what is the sort of mindset. And you're a very optimistic person. You don't just give in so easily. Yes, there will be a lot of depressing days, but you are a person who will stand up to it and chill out. It happens. So what? So let me go ahead and do it. So you're talking on the top. You're talking. One is when you have an startup, something that's different. So you're looking at innovation. What is it that you're trying to do different? You could be a me too if it's a large growing market. See, please don't do the mistake of say, okay, there's already a lot of people, they're players, and the market is not growing that big, crowded market. Like for example, EduTech today, it's too crowded. It's like A lot of people do this mistake. Entrepreneurship is also starting a kirana shop or a department store in a colony. There could be one kirana shop, and you finally see that, okay, this guy, see the scientific way of looking at things, of starting up and judgmental, being purely judgmental, and then taking not so calculated risks. That's why I said calculated risk. So it's like, okay, there is you see this happening in the streets. There was one kirana shop, the guy is doing good, somebody sees it and then says, okay, let me also start the second one. Maybe that guy is doing a turnover of about 50,000, or let's put some numbers. So maybe doing a turnover of ₹1,00,000 and is pocketing 30,000 at the end of the month. That's attractive enough for some other guy. And then he says, okay, let me also set up a kirana shop. Without even just thinking, okay, I don't know what the assumption is, but but assumptions are made there, and then they start up the kirana shop. Now you have one more kirana shop. The size of the market is still about 1 lakh. Maybe it grew up because more residents or the prices have increased and all. Let's say 1 lakh, 10, 50, 20,000. Let's say 20% growth of the market size. So it becomes 1,20,000. Now it's get this 1,20,000 is fiercely fought between these two kirana shops. So what they try to do to attract the people, they undercut each other. Then the first guy who was comfortable and said no credit will start saying, okay, I will give credit. Okay, but within 1 month you have to pay and all that stuff. And then starts the trouble. So the margins will come down. Though the market has grown from 1 lakh to 1,20,000, maybe the bottom line still, because of the discounts, as previously on 1 lakh where the bottom line was 30,000, would have even not been standing still at 30 or might have come down a little bit. And it's now being shared between two people. So both people, whoever has the financial ability to sustain in a longer period of time, will continue to keep putting, and then maybe keep continuing to be in the game and then try to outrun each other. In the process, one or the other who is giving credit will see few people not paying the money and move away from the colony, run away and all that stuff. That adds to the losses. So all these things will happen, and eventually only one guy will remain. So one of the guy who's wanted to be an entrepreneur, who has come into that place and try to do a Me Too thing without a very calculated risk taking, had gone, because maybe sometimes you want to come and say, I'll just outrun that guy and then take over that business. Yeah, some people do that. If you are very deep pocketed and you deep discount things and take it at loss, the other guy will eventually give up, and then you become the only guy, and then you start. And that again, maybe another guy, once it's find it attractive, one more guy might come and all that stuff. But still, you have to be very clear on what you have to do. So it's a be very this thing. So if you have something that's innovative, which is different from what people are trying to do, then please also understand, once you get into the market, you can start with something that is innovative at that point of time. A lot of people don't tell you one thing, which is innovation is a continuous process. If there's one, then if innovation is constant and you have one great product and that's enough to make you rich, then there is no, what do you call it, Apple 13 or Apple, whatever it is, Apple 1 should have been always there. Things would change, new things would come in, and you have to continuously innovate to be able to catch up and hold on to the market. Otherwise, you are dead. So ensure that you will have not just one idea to start up, but you continue to innovate and then start being ahead of the market. So you have the steam for that. You have the basic knowledge. Please don't get into things that you don't have a knowledge about. This is a lot of people come in and then try and get into areas where they don't have the subject matter expertise, and then say, okay, let me do this business. It's not just money, it is also the product knowledge or the business knowledge around that. So of course, knowledge and business knowledge we talk about. Team becomes very critical. What happens in student startups? 3 or 4 guys from computer science department will come and say, this is the product we have, great. But these are 4 guys who are developers who don't understand business. Maybe, I might be wrong, but usually this happens. These are technically good guys who have if I'm talking about the top thing, something on the level, innovation and knowledge is there, but the business knowledge isn't there. So ensure that when you have people on your team, It's not friends. Team doesn't mean friends. It could a good team later might become friends, but it is not always that what people have do the mistake is I have a group of friends and we'll become a team. It might, and most of the times it might not work. But please be very open because this is business. This is not just friendship. This is not sharing food in a restaurant. This is okay. If something goes wrong, somebody can play or going for a movie or partying out. This is a long-term commitment for a long number of years. There are a lot of startups that I've seen which have been successful, but once the money starts coming in, these so-called founders fight and somebody goes out thinking that I'm contributing, I should get a bigger share, and all that sort of fights happen and the whole thing collapses. I've seen it. I've seen really big, nice startups go down the drain. So team is something who are complementing each other. People who have the technical product know-how, then who have execution skills, which is operational. Do you have the financial, somebody who can manage the finances, can tell about the finances, marketing, sales skills, all these things. It doesn't mean that you one person have everything, or all together should also have everything. You at least have complementary skills. There is integrity, trust, and camaraderie, and the belief that they will be in this for a longer period of time should also be there. So be very careful in choosing the team that you want to be. It's not that, okay, after a year, because it's startup, nothing will start up. After one guy will say, అరే ట్రై చేసాంరా ఇంకా అవ్వదురా నేను ఎంఎస్కి అప్లై చేస్తున్నాను ఇక్కడ వెళ్ళిపోతాను ఫినిష్ దట్స్ ద ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టోరీ సో ఓకే సమ్టైమ్స్ యూ కిక్ ద పర్సన్ అవుట్ అండ్ గెట్ సంబడి ఎల్స్ ఇన్ బట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ అగైన్ you're losing some time and because of that there is again a fall in your momentum, and then you'll have to again pick up, and finding an alternate guy again, bringing him on board, getting him this thing is again not so easy because yeah it takes away a lot of your time. Okay, now, yeah, of course, you should have great leadership skills. You're always assertive and you're tolerant to risk. So now we're talking about the behavior of an individual who thinks he's ready for startup is a person who's very confident. His interpersonal relationship skills are pretty high. You can't be an introvert. You have to be somebody that is who is ready to mingle with people so your social skills are pretty high because of course in business your network is your net worth, which is what you call it as the social capital. So that becomes very critical. And of course risk tolerance, I know I'm repeating it here again and again because your ability to handle risk is what determines how strong you are and being able to sustain the ups and downs of a startup. So the good, bad, and ugly, I want to put it very straight. I won't say startup, everybody come on, startup and all that stuff. So if you're not for it, please just get off the line. If you're not, if you're not ready for this and come in later, okay, go ahead, go do work, make some money, become a little bit, understand the business. Because there could be a lot of things you don't understand business. Go and work in a business similar to that, and later come back. So it doesn't mean that okay, I will. There are people who started off pretty late and made it big too. So don't worry that you're not losing the time and other stuff. So what's good about it? You have real responsibility day one onwards. You will be exposed to everything. Unlike a company, when you join, you will be say, okay, you're a system, you're a developer, you go sit and develop. No, in this startup that doesn't work. You are a finance guy, you're a marketing guy, you do sales, you do operations, you do execution, you are the office boy to the CEO. Everybody is you. So you have an all-round exposure. One point that I would want to make here before I forget, I know might not come up as part of the question. So what happens if I start up, I fail, I want to go back to the industry, will people pick me up? This is the new trend, I'll tell you. We love people who have tried starting up, who have did a meaningful startup, but could have failed. Because we love these people is because they have a lot of this thing to come back and make it happen. And these are guys who know, who have this all-round exposure and who have taken those real responsibilities. That's why we would love these guys. We give opportunities. There are a lot of startups that give opportunities to startup founders who failed. So don't worry about that component, because you are always liked and loved by the other startups, because they know what you've gone through and what you can contribute, rather than a guy who's just not seen uh, anything. This is like you have been in the big stadium and played that big match, but did not score, and you came back to again to play Ranji. Please come back. Oh, we are ready to take you on. Well, rather than the other regular boys who take a job, who are just basically still paying district and slowly trying to move up the ladder to go and pay for the big match. So don't worry about whether I'll get a job if I tried a startup for 2 years or 3 years and then I failed. You can go back and tell your parents, don't worry, there are people who will pick me up. So third is, you will be heard. So you will get, there'll be startup coffee meets, and then mentors, and of course, if you're associated with Dr. Nageshwara Garu and the team, it's a small team, and your ideas are heard too. Unlike in a company, they give you work and you just really put your head down and better, deliver what I tell you to do. You as a manager or a team manager or your team lead will tell you that. So here you have heard. You have an enviable job title. You can call yourself whatever, head of something, CEO, CXO. Nobody cares, because people, when you make it 2 years, 3 years, you're revenue generating, you make it something, people will start envying you, because you are a startup which is making some revenue, you're making good money for yourself, and you call yourself a CEO, which the guy in a regular process might never become a CEO. And even to become one might take about 20-25 years to become one. So people will envy you. You get to follow what you want to do. That's a big thing. You are excited and you have a sense of ownership into what you, because you started it. You better put your butt down on the seat, and you will work, because you put in your own money. So there is no second thoughts about it. You're excited. You also have the sense of ownership. This is all me and mine. And you're of course inspired and motivated all the time, because as you see success, you would want to see more of it. You have a great network as a part of the startup ecosystem. You will sit and you will start networking, which happens automatically, because you'll have to start taking your solution or product into the market, and this will be happening again, and so you'll be part of many startup meets, business pitch competitions, hackathons, this, that, and all that. So you will be networking. You are forced to network. So you will, at the end of a year or two, you'll have tell something to you, and you'll say, "Oh, I know this guy, I know that guy." Unlike in a company, you're largely your team and a little bit of company here and there, and your old classmates. That's your network. So different. Growth and wealth proportional to success. Okay, of course, as you start going, as you do the weight game and you keep hitting it for a longer period of time, it's just a matter of time before you make it big. And it's not bad to startups these days, because people know what it is. So now we get onto the bad. You most of the time you're working at peak capacity. You do not. I can tell you this, because I worked in the corporate until I reached that one of those senior positions, then got into startup, because the next month you have a feeling that you're nobody in a startup, because you don't have any CXO sort of this thing. You are in a startup, you're just your 4 or 5 people, and you start up from scratch. Till the day before, wherever you go, there is, and of course, when you're in a Tech Mahindra and you're chief of quality, when I'm in Vizag, all the colleges, they come there, they talk to you like as if you're God, because I had the recruitment in this complete region and all that stuff. But the day I resign in this thing, nobody gives you a damn. So the TPO will no more call you. So all that was there. So, and second thing, of course, always work at peak capacity. Now I run 4 startups. I'm invested and also part of strategy and sales of 4 startups. So IT, IoT, HR tech, and medtech. So I know how hard and tough it is. There's nothing like Saturday, Sunday. There's nothing like weekends, holidays. Largely, people you'll get into IT, right? You'll be here. So people will say, I want to, you'll get a client who is a US client, and US doesn't have a holiday on Deepavali, Dashara. There is no Dashara, Deepavali, or your Vinayak Chauthi in the US. So, okay, then at least I'll get to enjoy Thanksgiving, Christmas, Good Friday? No, because they are not working. They give you the work to do. So you're working on both these days. So, and as a startup, you can't say no to work. So you work. So, and there's no predictable path to follow because, in a company, you join as a system analyst, then senior system analyst, then project lead, assistant or deputy manager, project manager, program manager. You know the path. Here, there's nothing like predictable path. Today you're here, tomorrow something. Third day, you might, a year from now, you joint venture with some other company, then you're called something else. So nothing, as things come your way and you start hitting the market, you keep changing. There's always change of path, and it's a dynamic process of making changes to your strategy and your product, your solutions, your target market, everything, and then it continues to happen. So, so you might have let go of a job that you already had on the hand in your campus. You are facing peer and family pressure, and your odds to succeed are low, and you know that behind your mind that there's the chance of failures are high, and you have to take personal responsibility to failure. What happens in a corporate is if something goes wrong, you resign TCS or the Infosys, join TCS. Here it doesn't happen this thing. It's your money that you put in. You are probably friends and a little bit of family money, and you take that responsibility of losing something for a long period of time, and the failure is on you. So that's a little bit bad. Ugly is you'll have sometimes a lot of sleepless nights because even now, after running these 4 startups, which I totally, IT and all that stuff, there's quite some people now. I have about 450 people that I have to take care of who are working in all these startups. Okay, I would say the IT startup has grown big, and the healthcare startup, which I've exited, but still I'm under this thing. But still, all these things, when 25th of the month approaches, my blood pressure automatically rises, even if I take a PP tablet. Obvious answer is simple, is because by the first I have to pay salaries, and I have to ensure that for me, at least this last month, it was after TDS and after tax and all the deductions that I have to take. It was 2.2 odd crore of this thing. I have to ensure that the amount of cash is there. My payables, which is from the clients, are coming in. I have to ensure that money is there. If not, I remember days when I had to go and put my wife's jewelry or gold on this thing, take a gold loan and pay salaries on time, and then take it out once the money flow comes from the client and all that stuff. So that is sometimes you go through these sleepless nights, or how do you manage stuff? Then maybe your first customer, 10th customer, especially your first customer, you did something and you're waiting for a response from the customer. So if it's a large customer, you would, of course, not so easy to sleep on that moment, because it's a moment of towards victory. So you would be excited, and it's not so easy to sleep. You would have a lot of stress, of course. You will have to face failure, face rejection. I know a startup where I've invested into this guy, and yeah, he was in a strong affair with his, of course, a girlfriend, and 3 years seeing that this guy is not settling down in life, she said thank you, bye, and she married somebody else and moved on. So he was rejected by his own understanding, so-called understanding girlfriend, who couldn't. So this guy stood invested. Today is worth a lot of money. She would probably, I don't know if she would, but she would think, I did a mistake maybe. If it was having a rich husband, maybe this guy is something that is going to make good money. So initially make a little or no money. There's no money in this initially because you are putting money. So it's on the negative side. So that's the ugly part. And then you start a lot of things late in life, which is maybe a marriage also might be a little bit late. And you start enjoying life also a little bit late in the life. So you have to be prepared for all these things. Okay. So there are certain myths about startups that were there, but I'm not saying startup is bad, but I am, of course, left a corporate job where could I become maybe one of the top 2-3 guys in TechM, and left it and got into something, doing something on my own. So, but are you ready for it now, or First of all, are you ready for being an entrepreneur? Two is, if yes, are you ready for it now? And all these things have to be pretty clear. Otherwise, you'll land up in trouble. So myth says, previously it was like a lone cowboy myth. It is like you're one guy who's going down, you see that movies, right? One guy on the horse going in a big, large desert. So it's no more deserted because startups are all over the place. So there's no lone cowboy stuff in the startup space. So people will welcome you. Say startup, you're not. It's not like are you crazy? When I passed out of engineering, if I say startup, people will not even understand the word startup. I want to become an entrepreneur. There was a word, startup was not even understood. If I say I want to become an entrepreneur, people would look down upon you like this, you can pitch patina sort of thing. So the experience myth. People say that you have to go in the corporate and experience what corporate world is. Only then you're ready for startup. Maybe no. Most of this, lot of startups did start up from the college garage and then over experience built it. So experience in building the startup itself is an experience in itself. So a corporate experience is not a must for a startup. It helps because for me, what it helped is, one is I understood how to do business with somebody, ensuring that I get my salary at the end of the money with less risk and stress. I understood the whole art of doing business at somebody else's risk. And two is, I've also ensured that I have enough money, so my risk-taking capability is increased. Third is, because of my 15, 20 years of experience, it also helped me understand what are, see, the most important thing, most of the speakers, what they tell you is what are the things that you have to do. But I say the most important learnings in life is what is it that you should not do. That is the most important thing, because what you should do everybody knows, but ensuring that you don't do what should not be done is the most critical thing. Then that probably is the more easier or the better way towards success. So okay, experience myth, not required to have a corporate experience. I'm only in it for money. That's again not right. Which is if you say why are you in for this thing, it's good to say I want to become rich, but it's not just that. You at least people would say I want. People say if you it is there, you would say maybe rich and famous. There is something else that is there, which is, because when you say famous, you want to be successful. So you want to be noted for somebody who's taken a risk and made it happen. There are other things. Money, don't have one single line focus saying money. It is good. Yes, you would want to make money. It is important and it is the end, the result point. But it is a byproduct of all the things that you do. So it is now, you cannot be in it only for the money. There's more to it. There is a lot of other things that are there in this. Entrepreneurs are gamblers. No, they are not. They do what you call, that's why I said calculated risk. They're very scientific in their approach. If you're just taking a decision like the Kirana shop based on some assumption, I can get all his customers, no problem. No, that doesn't work. So you get into it. That's why we talk of market research, surveys, whether you've done your homework well. Just going to Google and saying so much is the addressable market, so I will get into it. Nah, not possible. It's not that you will get all that market to you. So then you gamble. If you're not doing a very proper, thorough, scientific assessment of where you stand and how you want to go about in the market, then you're gambling. You're taking judgment, and your chances of failure become higher, or you're a miss or low informed entrant into the market. So don't do that. Next, okay, I just see the questions. Okay, I will sure keep some time. I'll for questions. I've seen that coming up on the chat. We will go through that. Let me quickly finish and then we'll go through that. I think I'll give some. So entrepreneurs do not have to worry about numbers myth. No, this is something that I've invented this myth. Every day in, day out, you're only looking at numbers. Numbers only matter, nothing else. How many customers, what have they pay, how many this thing, how much is the salary, everything is a number there. Even number of days by which your product will be ready. It is everything. By how many, you might say it will take 2 months. That means 60 days. Everything is a number here. How quickly, how fast See, cost, quality, time, everything is put in numbers, and that's how it is. If you're a little bit late, somebody else might take it. So it's all about numbers. All you need is money myth. No, everybody says, sir, I have a great idea. What I need is fund. No, sorry, that's what you think. We will have to see a lot of things. Do you have it in you? Did you really watch Shark Tank? If somebody, I know you know what Shark Tank is by now, because Shark Tank is now in India. I think a lot of people out there are not new to it. If you still want to know what Shark Tank, just search on YouTube, you will find what Shark Tank is. You'll see what it is required. It's just, you don't get funding for sake of just an idea. Please understand one more thing. An idea in itself is nothing, as because people will have tons of idea. I can give you probably workable ideas now. Like if you want, you ask me for 5 ideas, I'll tell you which might work. But it's all, I would say 95, what I sometimes put it as 97, 90, until unless you have something that has already been patented and which is very unique, then I say, okay, come, let's talk for a funding. Otherwise, just an idea in itself, it means nothing. You have to test it out. You have to prove that you're making a little bit of revenue or something. Like most of the students feel this way. Oh, I can develop this great product. See, an application in itself means nothing. Please understand that. With low code, no code coming, something, a large ERP application taking years of time might be built in 2 to 3 months. So look up what is low code, no code. So that is, it is like a drag drop stuff in your Photoshop sort of a thing, or in your Word, Excel sort of, not Word, Excel, not a lot of drop trap stuff, but it is like that. It is like editing a few documents or editing a photograph and all that stuff. It becomes so, programming will become so easy. APIs can be created on the fly. So don't come with an idea and say, I need funding to this thing. First of all, we'll see how much of risk that you have taken, how much money of yours you have put in. Do you have your skin in the game is what is the first question that is asked. And how many months have you really? Some people just say, I have an idea and give me money. It doesn't work that way, brother. So please, Pakakellu, how much you work on the idea. It's just not a PPT that will give you money if you've not really worked on it and have a good execution plan, or maybe executed it. I've got a secret myth. Chala mandri antaru, sir, na దగ్గర idea undi, I have a great idea. Adi inkokal share cheyinte adi andariki telisipondi. Don't be foolish. If you're thinking about it, somebody else is already doing it. It's all about execution. Today, I just see this, you know what, Ola, Uber, Flipkart, whatever, give the list of all the startups that Facebook, Google, you know what all they do. Maybe some of it is patented, you can't do it again, like maybe some of the algorithms that Google uses, I don't know. But what Facebook does, what Amazon does, what Uber, Flipkart, Myntra, Uber, whatever, yeah, or any of these big companies that they do, you know what they do, especially services companies and all that stuff, or product companies, and it's no more a secret. So don't ever think that your idea is so unique, I can't tell to somebody and it's difficult to this thing. So the more you share the idea, the better it is, because you get it validated. And where there are problems, when you get into market and you get hit, somebody will caution you, boss, there is an hurdle here, did you look into it? Lot of you guys, especially at the student stage, do not think of lot of things, like while patent is one thing, there are legal, statutory compliances, lot of things. Otherwise, it's like somebody coming and telling me, sir, online lo mandam vestan sir, emundi fine shop kanta demand undi, emundi online lo ammedam. So it's, I know it is sure shot probably profitable, or it is like, I know I'm talking a little bit stupid, like I will say, why don't, sir, online I can probably set up something not in India and Sri Lanka and or some Bangladesh or Myanmar or some other place, or Dubai, and sell and distribute drugs in India. I mean narcotics. So I know you will immediately say, are you stupid? Because you know about it, but there are a lot of things in regular business that you know you shouldn't be doing. And there's so many things. So talk to people, people will tell you maybe this is not possible. So, or maybe this is possible, but you have to do this and do this and do this. So it's always better to share your idea. Okay, now, yeah. So there are two parts of before you take up to become a startup guy, an entrepreneur. There's one part because everybody talks of external validation. That is, is my idea good enough to be make a good startup? But I include the other part, which is the internal validation. Do I want to really do this? Do I want this? Is something that is your own belief in the idea, in the belief in startup system, and belief in the potential, your own potential, and you yourself validated that you are right for this and how much important it is for you to make it happen. So please understand it is at least a 5 to 10 year journey. And it's not something like 2 years will become profitable and this and that. It is a very long journey and you have to continuously keep hitting it. So, so you better think, do I really want to do this? And why is it that I want to do it? Name, fame, money, lot of things. So maybe all of it. And can I do it? Very important. Do I have a team that is along with me that I can, because you can't do everything yourself. And am I on this for the long haul? So this becomes your internal validation, or get it validated by somebody at the incubation center who will ask you these questions and tell you, yes, boss, you're ready, or boss, you're not ready. Go join a job, go do your MS. After some years, rethink and come back once you think you're again ready. So that is very critical. And then the external validation, which is the idea validation, whether is it promising enough? Is there a need? Is somebody ready to pay for it? Because big thing is we all come up with ideas and we think that there is a market. I give you a few examples that I have where people have, like my own one, Interview Buddy, which is a HR recruiting firm. We initially start that we'll go to B2C, direct to customers, which is students, for prepare for their interviews, campus interviews. It was a student idea. It will come up from one of the students from Andhra University, 2015, mechanical engineering pass out. This guy got a job. He did not, see how he started off with the idea. He was simply sitting, he was a backbencher. He had some backlogs, good student, but backlogs because he was very concentrated on practical things of life. He was sitting in a mechanic shop, there's that, and he was interested in two things, programming and machines. And he was physically handling machines. So automobiles and machines. So he was in an interview with an auto component part, this thing in the university core, and they were asking him, and they were surprised by his level of knowledge of practically how the automotive parts function and why they wear, what is the reason, what all that stuff. The event that happened in his life is they said, come and sit with us on this interview panel. So he was sitting and interviewing his own classmates from there on. And he saw the CGPA, high CGPA class toppers and all come, and nervous, sort of sweating. Then he thought, oh, boss, this is something, revealing. So he said, okay, this must be a problem out here that a lot of people who are good at studies cannot really face an interview. Then he did not join that company and he went for his MS to Germany. 6 months, he had his previous seniors batch, which again go for interviews, and he was observing same pattern there. Then he thought, oh, this is a global phenomenon, so I should start up. He left his MS halfway, came back to India, came to us, 6 of us invested and started. And the other 5 of us are all industry veterans who think we know a lot of things, 15, 20 years of experience. We went and we said, okay, we developed this Interview Buddy thing, and we thought we will first launch it for students. We got 30 colleges, campus ambassadors, sent them all the equipment, spent a few lakhs of rupees, did the launch. In the peak of placement thing, in 3 months, we got 24 paid registrations. Did we not do, but then your question is, did you not do a proper scientific, calculated, whatever you're giving us Gyan today? Did you not do it? Not calculate and get into the market, scientifically prove it before you got into the market. Excuse me, we did. And we failed in a certain way and manner. I can tell you what. We went and did surveys to students like you and asked, in a day or two, you have an interview with Accenture. We will get you to arrange with a person who is an Accenture or similar from the company itself and get you to interview, to prepare for the interview that is coming up. We went to a few cities and did this, and people gave us at an average at nobody less than 1,000 rupees for that interview to about 3,000 rupees. Some people said we gave this thing from 715. I think the least was 950, 900, something like that. We priced it at 7 after at 1,000, and after discount it was 799 or 800 rupees. 24 registration in a matter of 3 months. That is 24 into 800 was a revenue for a few lakhs of rupees. It was a total flop show. You have something in marketing called latent need versus the real, which is the latent real need versus expressed need. People might say something, but what is the real need is something that is, you might express something like, if I ask what sort of a, if when in college, if no, let's be very this thing. One or two examples quickly. If at my age, when I was getting married, if people had asked me what sort of a girl do you need, I would say అందంగా లేకపోయినా పర్లేదు మనసు బాగుండాలి, inner beauty. It's big bullshit. Then what this thing? That's one example I'm giving you. And she did not be rich in this thing, but rich in her thinking and all that stuff. That's all good to say, because that's what I will say. Tell my parents to find a girl like that. But this, when I'm going to a relative's this thing, or when I get some photographs to check out, I'm looking at the most beautiful girl. In that, తెల్లగా ఉంది, పొడుగ్గా ఉంది, ఇది ఉంది, ముక్సు ఇది ఉంది, బాగుంది, అమ్మాయి బాగుంది, ఇది పక్కన పెట్టు. You're shortlisting based on by external beauty, and you're talking about internal beauty. Same thing. Sometimes I caution people who get into the health market. People say that's a huge thing. People have a lot of health issues. People talk about it, and I know a lot of us talk about it. Same thing like in environment and plastic. It's not so easy to break that health market. I feel, you know why? Because if people have been so health conscious, your roads in the morning walks would have been filled, crowded. In fact, your gyms would have been crowded. Your fast food centers would have disappeared. Our fast food centers would have not had so much business, and restaurants, and your what do you call it? Your alcohol or cigarettes and tiny or really all these things would have not sold so much. So what you're talking and what is actually happening is different. So please, so you have to be really careful when people say, yes, I will pay so much for this, and really when the time comes, okay boss, please pay. That's why if you see in Shark Tank, they say how many paid buyers, how much sales did you do, because that's a real testimony if your product really sells. So be very careful. So that's one, again, takeaway that I can think is very important for you to ensure that you're successful. Okay. So ecosystem, I think Purushottam Garu had said, we are doing great. So there is a great thing of doing this startup system, and is very well mature, established system in India. So it welcomes you. It makes you, it's good for people who want to be there. It is organized now. You're not a loner. People welcome you, and then you get a lot of help to be able to take up and do things. So I like this lady Falguni Nair. I don't know if anybody knows or heard about her. Yeah, if anybody would want to say who she is on the chat, would love to see if anybody wants to say who this, anybody, Falguni Nair, who is she? Okay, nobody is talking or nobody is responding. Anybody can even unmute and then tell who this Falguni Nair is. Okay, she's started. Because I probably like her because she started late in entrepreneurship. She owns, or she's the head, or what do you call it, CEO, MD of Nykaa as a brand, which was one of the unicorns we're talking of, which has become unicorn last August, September. So she says you have to do it with a lot of intensity, commitment, passion, and hard work for a pretty long time for it to reach the finishing line. And she started nearing 50, and at 60, she became a unicorn. So that's why no late entrants, no this thing, what do you call it? Is it too late to get in? Is it too early? This is a market. The startup ecosystem is something which will accept anybody, everybody at any point of time. You could be, yeah, there's no caste creed. This is one thing which has got no bias. No gender bias, no this bias, no caste, religion bias, and all that. If you got it in you, you will make it. That's it. So with that, I would say people who think who have it in it, welcome to the startup world. That's what we are here, Nageswara Garu and the team at Vignan doing a great work. We already started working together. We're more than happy to collaborate and help. The idea is to AP should have something successful, that's my goal. We still do not even have a successful Decicon, which is 1/10 of a unicorn. I would say Decicon probably working towards a few Decicons from this state. Maybe aim for a unicorn later, but at least a few Decicons, and from the state of AP, we should have something. So that's the vision or aim from my end. Love to work with people. So I'd give more time for people to ask questions and all that stuff. Now we're open for questions. There's a lot of content if you want me to continue this stuff, but I'd say this is all maybe for a later date.
Yes, sir.
Is echoing? Okay. A little bit of question.
We have organized in a blended mode. It is a seminar hall, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You are most welcome, sir. We are really, fortunate to collaborate with eminent people like you and Purushottam, sir. You have a lot of concern, it seems. We can understand. It's really great, and I hope it's exactly people should think first towards Decicons. We keep talking about Unicons. Okay.
Yeah.
You rightly pointed out. It's really good.
Yes, sir.
And certainly we together can do some extent, either of the ends. And okay, it is the time participants already put some queries.
Okay, I'll stop sharing and I'll get into this thing.
Yeah.
And let me go to the chat box and see what are all the questions that come up. 3, 4. Okay, is the person at rural areas doing commission business related to agri-related marketing? Is it called startup or entrepreneurship? Okay, the thin line, Dr. Venugopal Garu. Okay, so there's a thin line out here, startup and entrepreneurship. So somebody who's doing a calculated risk taking, I would say, would call him the startup or an entrepreneur. So entrepreneur is a startup. So, and if you're starting early and you're doing it with a little bit of capital that you put in your own money and you started off, yes, it is entrepreneurship. So if you are in trading business, commission business is trading business, you're trading between A and B. Of course, you can be a startup. There are a lot of trading companies. Of course, Amazon itself is a trading company. It doesn't manufacture anything of its own. It is picking up for somebody and selling to somebody and making a commission in between. So it is, you can call it as a startup idea. But if there is somebody, if you're doing it, and please do a proper analysis before getting into doing such stuff, because a lot of people are trying to digitize the agri supply chain, not to remove the middlemen, because why should farmers lose the money in between? Like Aruku coffee is one example that we add here. So trying to take away a lot of these middlemen in between so that more money can be put in the hands of the farmer. So they're also more willing to come and participate with you and then create. So it's basically, if somebody comes in and whatever the products that you are trading between these two, they take it to the next level, brand it, and then directly talk to the farmer and pick it up. You're gone from that business. So it's a startup, but still please be aware of the risks. Next, Charita. She said, few members are interested to start the startup, but we don't have money. What should they do, sir? Very difficult to answer this because I don't know what startup and other stuff. How much of money do you need to do it? So first thing I would say is, If Charita, if you are from the engineering background, get your faculty to connect you to your MBA students and ask them to do a business plan for what you're doing as a startup. So to do the financial planning, which is requirement, you cannot just say, we don't have money. How much money is that you need? And that comes with your operational plan and business plan and other stuff, which an incubation center can help you also in giving you templates and getting you to prepare for that. I think one is, it depends on the idea. Interested to start the startup, but maybe more details are required here. But yes, not always that you need to have money. You can do some little bit of jugaad innovation and start off, and then slowly. But eventually, yes, you need it. But startup also, again, the process I've not talked about. You don't need to do a big bang. Make a little bit of what we call it as MVP, something that is minimum viable product. They call it as the some product which can be shown and then and acceptable and a little bit paid for, and then once you get the confidence that somebody is ready to pay for it, I think investors will come in and have a look at your product. Then go see, the best way is also to 2 or 3 ways to find money for something like that. If you think your idea is good, go to this business hackathons or business pitch competitions. That's why make a very good business pitch. What is the size of the market? What is the probability? How much money you're likely to make, and how much money is required and at what point? Next, we call it burn rate, cash burn rate. How much money will you burn in the next 12 months, 18 months, 2 years? How much money will you make at different points of time? Prepare a plan, go for these competitions, present it. You also can now with Nidhi ITBI coming to Vigyan, they have an ignition fund, and if it is in the specific area in which it is coming up, I think life sciences, if it is related to that, probably you can do a pitch to that. But like that, there are a lot of these incubation centers who have an ignition fund and coming with agri, defense, AI, data analytics, a lot of things. They throw these challenges, and then you come up, and if it's something good, like Chunoti happened, Chunoti, which is STPI driven, Chunoti 1, 2, and 3 happened. And part of two startups from Andhra University, student startups, got money, 25 lakhs each, and they're valued at 3 crores. So it can happen. So maybe something that you can work more closely with Nageshrao Garu and Dr. Nageshrao Garu and team, and then find answers for that. And if there's something more required, very happy to help you, Charita. Yes, sir. Kindly differentiate between startup related to software and non-software business. Sir, Dr. Venugopal Garu, Konchum, can you be a little bit more detailed about your question? Software, yes, I can understand. Non-software businesses, are you talking about infrastructure management services, or what is it that you're talking of? Is it hardware? Is it servers? Which is just wanted to know. Differentiate between startup related to software and non-software is okay. Of course, I would simply say is, if you're building which is software for some entity, like I'll give you an example. We are one of the startups that we have is builds ERP for aqua processing firms. Like if you're talking near Vijayawada, we have Sandhya Marines, which is an aqua processing firm for which we as an entity, as a joint venture again with them, are building a software which is purely for aqua processing firms across the globe. So they also invested, and we did a JV, and it's a startup. And eventually they would want to take it to the market, Vietnam and a lot of places who would need this ERP. So we would implement it in their unit, and so that's a complete pack of software. In that, again, we had to have something which is RFID readers, Bluetooth stuff, which is Bluetooth readers, then sensors, tracking of temperature, inventory tracking, GIS tracking of vehicles. All that stuff is hardware. There's software related to that, and there's hardware related. So all the hardware components, manufacturers, and all that stuff, there are startups with which we are working. So that's again non-software. Maybe the product has software in it. Like very difficult to identify any of these products. Even right, your refrigerator to your TV to all these things have software in it. But largely, because major component is the hardware, you can still consider it to be part of the hardware. So the IoT, RFID, and other components that are part of the hardware side of it, we pick it up. We don't do it ourselves. We pick it up, but we integrate with them, with those products. So those are all the non-software businesses. I hope I could answer that question. Please let me know, sir, if that's not what you're expecting. So again, Dr. Venugopal Garu, what is the success rate in startup in software related business activities? Again, software, two things, sir. There is services and software products. There is services is like most of the companies which we have, which are big in India, are largely service based, which is your Infosys, Tech Mahindras, HCLs, and Wipros and all that. Largely service based. They have been startup one day. I know Infosys started off in a garage, Satyam did, which is now Tech Mahindra, and all these started off as startups or maybe as an entrepreneurial activity from large companies like HCL and Mahindra and other things. So, so services startups are there, but largely, if you want to really grow big and have a big valuation, because service-based startups is actually knowledge and its people and project execution and other stuff. But if you want to really grow big, make it big, is product-based, which is you're talking about CRM, supply chain products, ERP products, all these things. They're a product, software product development startups. So yeah, so that's basically, and the rate of success in Stan, because IT is something that's been doing good in the last 2 decades or so and likely to do good. The rate of success, if you can call it, is high. As of now, if you got the right product for the right market, you should be able to make it. It's largely, sir, it's not just create a product. I might create a great application, I might create a great product. Your ability to reach out to the customer, convince them, and being able to get them to buy it is what becomes the biggest challenge. Yes, thank you, sir. Informative. Thank you very much. And mostly agri related. Okay, I didn't know for the answer. Any other questions? More than happy to answer. I know we have very few, but hopefully I don't try, and don't worry, sir. I don't go by quantity. It's no point having 150, 200 people and not interested people. Because I also remember going to campuses and doing these guest lectures where people, faculty sit near the gates and people are made to forcefully sit in the classroom, and then you are asked to talk. Very difficult to talk to that crowd. If there are 10 people who are really interested in startup, that's what is finally your startup size, or size of people who will be interested in startups. So absolutely fine with the, don't really worry about the numbers too. Yes, sir, I am done. Anybody has a questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Actually, young innovator is with us. He's Amal.
Yes, Mr. Amal.
Yeah, Amal, can you come here?
Hello, sir. This is very nice to see here virtually.
Oh, good to meet you, Mr. Amal.
I was part of this team 3 years ago, and I completed my graduation here. And currently, I'm working on a startup which is focused on developing sustainable technologies.
Sustainable again, what?
Like sustainable into like single use, to eliminate single use plastics. So we are working.
Or sustainable environment, not sustainable business, because see, I'm sorry, I'm trying to correct you here, but when you're pitching to investors and all that, be very specific. Sustainable environment is your area. Okay. And related to reusable.
We are starting with food products, sir. Like we are entering the spice powder market. We are currently developing like some packaging technology which would be degradable, biodegradable.
Okay.
We are currently doing in some trials, and we are making progress.
Okay. That. And did you do a proper competitor business environment study?
Yes, we have some data.
Okay, go ahead.
We have some data from some like major players like Avendas, who is into these things. So we are having like good data, and the forecast for this food spice powder market is also very promising, with the 16% CAGR growth each year, and expected to be 50,000. The organized spice powder market is like by 2025, it's expected to reach 50,000 crores.
Excellent. But what is it? CPT, Central Food Packing Technology Institute or something like that. I forgot the name.
CFTR.
Just reach out to those, go to those places, see what's happening in their labs. This is how you find out, because sometimes the product might not still be in the market. It might be still in ideation stage. You'll have to find who else and what sort of things are happening. That's better. At that time, it's good to visit the labs of these people and then interact, just to see that you are different ahead. Of course, what also matters is when you're setting up something like this, and you're largely going to set up a manufacturing unit, and you're going to do this, and then you're going to supply, I don't know, is it largely, are you going to concentrate on the machinery part of it, or you're going to do a specific packaging, what do you call it, composition, that you're going to put a plant and manufacture those packaging material and supply it to the packaging industry? So where are you in the supply chain?
Not exactly like about making the packaging thing. We are actually we intend to like bridge the gap for the consumers. We are going to give the consumers an opportunity to buy such biodegradable products, because currently there is no other brand which is putting like packaging that would be, you know, like biodegradable.
So you're going to manufacture and sell it yourself?
Well, it's kind of an integration. Like there are manufacturers who are producing the raw materials. So we using our technology will get it manufactured through some other facility, like specialist like manufacturers, and we will do the packing.
So you're outsourcing your manufacturing, you're only branding and then selling.
Yeah, it's a kind of a marketing.
Okay, so just see that, because that means that it's easy for competition to enter into it. So largely depends upon how you are, and maybe there's also, I know this is again related to one thing that I was talking of, is people's consciousness towards being eco-friendly. We all talk, but we don't do. At that moment, if they say your bag, let's say if it's you're going to a retail outlet or some Reliance Fresh or something, and the product, and they say, okay, this is a plastic bag and it is 6 rupees or 5 rupees. And this is the whatever that you come up with, and it costs about 10 or 12. We will go with the 5 or 6, because that's people's mentality largely. So you'll have to, I know, reusability of the bag, all that stuff. I know there are a lot of other factors. I know it's too lesser time. We can't eat into other people's time. It's another 10 more minutes, but anything that you would need, maybe I should thank Dr. Nageshwar Garu and the Dean R&D for the invitation. So probably if Purushottam Garu and I get at some time and invite your innovation hub, then we surely can talk, and then, or meanwhile we can, sir, please do share my number, not a problem. We can talk to the person, and we can talk and then exchange ideas, and then largely can give you all the risks associated with and what you'll have to do probably, or some market access if I have access to those things. But good job. That's good that you're thinking. What's your background?
Sir, well, I have worked in various leadership positions in Dubai, but it was mostly into like automation and instrumentation in the oil and gas sector.
Okay.
I have a few people I know, like startup people from India who is like doing such kind of thing. One is called Mr. Ankur. He is the founder of Water, which is actually like manufacturing water, which is coming in aluminum recyclable thing, which is not coming in PET. So I got my inspiration from one of this was from Dubai Expo, where there was no plastic kind of thing at all. So this thing, so what we are actually going to do is, we know that if we are gonna, like, there are many sustainable options, but if we keep the price really high, then no one is going to buy us. So we are actually bringing the technology that is at par with the current things, and also not compromising on the quality. So we have almost worked out the financial part, I mean the pricing and all, and it's almost coming to the closer edge, that is with the current MRP of these products.
Oh,
So,
excellent. Keep hitting it, and then hopefully you will find the solution and get into market. But largely, what becomes very critical is the ability to what do you call it? Price it right, and also get into ability to connect, and then get those largely again the traders or the supply chain to accept the product, and then be able to offtake your this thing. So test it out in few markets in and around. But maybe if the product might not be also sometimes not ready for India, don't try and choose a wrong market of entry. Maybe you tie up with that guy like Ankur sort of guys in the Dubai and try and let them sell it, and maybe they say just supply this thing, we will brand it and sell it. Something that you have to think about. Sometimes brand creates that value. So do you want to ignore the brand and then give them just the supplies, and then they brand their own stuff and then sell it? No, of course, packaging material, usually it's the retail shop wants to have its brand, not your brand. Then I think think a little bit beyond. Think just not India. Think beyond. If that is where the acceptability for the price at which you be able to make it, and try connecting with those people outside. If you've been to the Dubai exhibition mall, you probably would have already collected their visiting cards and other things. Start talking to them, and then see if there is marketability, and because affordability is more in that markets.
We have some promising data from Capgemini after this corona, like almost 53% of the total consumers are actually ready to buy new, like even new brands if they are really committed to the environment or into sustainability. So we have some data about regarding that as well. So it's quite like kind of promising for us.
That makes it this thing. See, I would, okay, my last this thing, I don't want others to keep on holding because of our conversation, holding on. So I would say, again, don't go the B2C route. Of course, you would not sell to directly to the customers. You would sell to, go to people, or again to the retail outlet, which don't care, which is basically for them money matters. But if you're really looking for people where environment matters, because as a socially responsible entrepreneur, talk to these corporates, actually, especially the IT corporates, big majors, because they would promote products like you, because they also, as part of their social responsibility activity, have to show something that they have done. So you can talk to them and then showcase your product and make it something that can get viral in the to start with, maybe IT related, IT services, IT companies which are large. Hyderabad could be a market, and go talk to these guys and then try and put it onto their cafeterias and other things for their own usage.
So our company got DPIIT like recognition also. So
Oh,
hopefully,
good.
hopefully we can actually like sources for government sourcing also. We will like intend to put it there also.
Don't take me wrong. Forget about the government.
Okay.
Don't ever think that as a big market and all that stuff.
Okay.
That's no. I would say, especially I know while I work for it, if you're looking for something like that, and you're largely focusing on state government or something like that, buying your product, no, because the payment and everything, all they're pretty not so good. So environmental sustainability and all that, it is a big what do you call it? Most of these companies have it as part of their yearly reporting stuff. So concentrate on those corporates which really the carbon footprint and their environmental consciousness and all that is something that is being measured, and then be asked to report as part of there are a lot of GDRS and all the lot of laws out there which the big corporates will have to do it. So US, UK based, which are operating in India, and the Indian companies trying to follow suit. So go and first put it out in these places where it is a need, rather than you trying to push it onto them and make them feel the need.
Mhm.
There's more, a little bit of pull in those sort of markets.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
you.
Okay. All the best.
Mal-
Yeah. Any help? More than happy to help you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Really valid session, I believe. As you mentioned, no, it seems that you would love to speak truths most of your presentation also.
I'm sorry, sir.
It seems that most of the times you would love to speak truths even in presentation.
Yeah.
That's really something unique which I noticed out of many presentations. So as you mentioned, it's not number. So I hope it is a valid session.
Yeah, yeah. I hope
we-
people got
we made
something out of it. Yeah.
we made it useful. Thank you so much for your concern and
Thank you,
support.
sir. Thank you. Thank you,
We
sir.
keep-
Anytime, sir.
We keep moving. And,
Yes, yes, sir.
this is anyway, guys. Anybody is there? Vote of thanks.
So don't on a Saturday evening when week up coming up, don't bother them with all that. Let's
That is the
forget
problem.
about the formalities. I am actually thankful, and if people are still sitting at
Yeah,
around 5 o'clock in the evening and listening, I'm
Actually-
thankful to them. Thank you.
yeah. In fact, you could have noticed it is 4 o'clock our office timing. You know,
Right.
behind 1.5 hours.
So that's why I'm saying thank you, because I also sitting in a university environment, and I understand in the corporate
Yeah.
it is other way around, but in a university getting people to sit and then all that. So I should say thank you to people there.
So really, very thankful on behalf of our university administration and team ESL, and on behalf of my own, I'd really thank Purushottam sir and Ravi sir, and this is what I can say. And shall we end up this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anybody is there? Any
No,
question?
I think
There are about 10 more people, but
I don't see anybody
I hope-
online having any questions. They've not either
we'll
typed
see
in
you.
or not.
Yeah. Okay, sir. We'll see you. And
Thank
meet
you.
again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Namaste and
Fine. Namaste.
namaste
Whenever
and
you
Jai Hind, sir. Jai Hind, sir. Thank you.
whenever you find time, we'll see to have a physical.
Oh, of course, sir. Oh, anytime, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Good day and happy weekend, sir.
Yes, sir. Happy weekend.